This is the Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, Tuesday, December 13th. And we are a hybrid meeting, so if you're dialing in, please hit *6 to mute yourself and *6 to unmute yourself if you want to speak. We're going to take a few things out of order tonight. So, Andrew, we're going to start with Park Street. That you took me a while to spit it out. So you're this is case 22-102. James.
Brian, do you have anybody zooming in tonight or no? That you need to
Oh,
sign in?
JJ. Yeah, sorry. JJ's out there.
All right.
JJ, can you sound off just so we can say we're here?
I'm here.
Brian Murphy's here. Anyone else?
Larry Keane here.
Mark Corwin here. Brian Sullivan here.
Heidi Conway here.
So, James, you've already been read into the record, 22-102, Villa 34 Park Street. I see you came to us with some good news.
Yes, I went back to the engineer and asked that they give me the dimension from the corner of the property to the property line and find out if it's pre-existing non-conforming, and it is.
It is.
So I changed all the paperwork to reflect the special permit. I reviewed everything with Andrew, and that's about all I could do.
Yeah, so we should be all set. Do we have to review this again, Bob, or we already went through this case?
Say that again?
We already did this case, he just had to prove his lot line.
Yeah, but you got to vote, you haven't voted, right?
No, we've got to vote on it, yeah.
You can close the hearing then.
Okay. So for 22-102, James and Melissa Cavello, 34 Park Street, I make a motion that we close that. Do I have a second?
Mark Corwin, second.
All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Andrew, do you have a date on the plan there? Just so I can add that in.
November 29th, 2022.
Okay. So I move that the board vote to grant the,
Although it was signed, it was stamped 12/2/22.
okay. So I move that the board grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to the conditions. Andrew, did just a building, what do you need, a building permit, as-built? I know I should have it in front of me, but I don't. Oh, and we all,
Yeah, they'll need an as-built and a certificate of occupancy.
okay, and we all agree that it meets the special permit, numbers 1 through 10?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Yes.
Grover?
I do.
All right. So, with those the conditions mentioned, to add an alter extend to a non-conforming home, allowing the construction of the new first floor area, I'll call it, on a plan dated December 2nd, 2022. Is that correct, Andrew?
Yes.
That's
12-2.
December 2nd, 2022, correct.
All right, December 2nd, okay. Okay, and the board, it's in the R3 zoning district. Based on the findings, the applicant has demonstrated that he meets all the requirements of section 1012 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grover. All right, so now, are the Flavins here? Are the Flavins here? Were they online, Heidi? or-
You're not.
Oh, we don't
She
need
just
them
sent me
there,
an email.
right?
She just-
So
yeah.
I can just,
Just breeze through it anyway.
yeah, so I'll just go through that quick. They continued
The last page.
on the new hearings.
in the continued. 2109.
All right, so we have 21-09, Stephen and Teresa Flavin. Petitioners are requesting a 6-month extension on a special permit and variance approval that was granted on February 9th, 2021, meeting and stamped into the clerk's office on February 22, 2021, due to unforeseeable delays in getting the gas line moved by Eversource. So I'm all for extending them their 6 months. Do they have tolling time too, Andrew, or is that already included?
They would have been issued it during COVID, so that wouldn't apply, but.
Okay.
I'll
So they don't
tell
have-
you what, this Eversource thing is delaying a lot of
Nightmare.
permits.
Yeah.
And this, something that, like, these people are being pretty proactive about, and a lot of people, I think, probably won't even, take this step here.
All right. Well, I move that we grant the 6-month extension to the special permit and variance.
Second.
All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wallen, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover? Well, that's 5 votes. All right, so now, again, taking things, just in case anyone's here for 2299 Ryan and Daniel Gardner. They've been continued to 12423. If anyone's here for 2266 1184 Ferry Street or 1203 Ferry Street, 2267, they've also been continued to February 14th. No one? All right, so now I'm going to take, in the continued hearings, James Marathis, Family Trust, 2284. Oh, sorry. Andrew, you have to let.
Yeah, I can't get this one.
All right, so take a 5-minute break. Second,
Mark Wallen.
all in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Mark Wallen, aye. Bless you.
Yeah.
Where's that?
I just got it today at,
You ready? I'm ready. All right, we just gotta wait for Bob to come back.
secretary today when I got it from
Okay.
Jack Sullivan.
Let me read it.
He managed the project for the town.
This was the one missing thing, right?
Yep.
He's so stupid. He's so stupid.
All right, ready to open up again? Make a motion that we reopen the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Him?
Mark Owen, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover? Asleep.
Leave enough, though.
Yeah. All right, so we have 2284 James Marathis, TAG Family Trust, from 50 Ocean Street. So what have you got to update us with?
Good evening, members of the board. I've put together a summary for you of the project since the inception of when I began applying for the project, and I kind of neatly put the exhibits 1 through 18 together for you, which I hope answers most of the concerns that were raised during the hearing process. If it's okay, if I can read the summary.
Sure, go ahead.
I purchased 50 Ocean Street in December of 2016. The previous owners had applied for a grant from FEMA to elevate the house. In 2019, I executed a contract with Viviato Contracting to elevate the house. Due to weather and winter storms, the project was delayed and completed in 2020. The project goal was to elevate the home to elevation BFE 24.8, approximately 12 feet off the ground. During construction, I contacted the Town of Marshfield Building Department and Conservation Department to request permission to keep the breezeway which connected the house to the garage. I was informed by Conservation that the breezeway must be demolished in a condition of the elevation project. During a site visit with the building inspector, I inquired if there was any way to maintain the breezeway. The building inspector suggested that I reconstruct the breezeway after the elevation project was completed. The breezeway had been part of the property for approximately 73 years, at an approximate size of 16 feet by 10 feet. Please see the evidence of the pre-existing breezeway. During the elevation project, my house was lifted to an elevation BFE 24.8 to meet the FEMA requirement of 3 feet above base flood elevation. After the project was completed, FEMA modified the flood maps, reducing the BFE by 3 feet, causing my property now to be 6 feet above base flood elevation. I seek to rebuild the previously connecting breezeway to the garage as a matter of medical necessity. There are 20 steps to climb to enter my home, as it now sits approximately 12 feet off the ground. I had spent 2 years working with the building department, requesting approval for installation of a handicap lift. I hired an architect to design the handicap lift as well as a surveyor to design a site plan with handicap accessibility. After receiving conservation approval, the building department denied the request for the handicap lift due to the fact that the property was in a flood zone. I was unable to construct the elevator shaft without extensive modification. Please see the attached plans that I have enclosed, which show the work that I did on the handicap accessibility and the elevator lift for 2 years. This is critical to provide safe, easy access to my home. My father has not been able to visit my home, missing holidays and family visits with my 9-month-old daughter. She's actually 11 months old now. My father was a veteran. He served as a Canton, Mass. Firefighter. He was severely injured in a gas explosion. The pressure of the gas explosion was so significant that over time he lost 100% of his vision, substantial percentage of his hearing, and required both of his knees to be reconstructed. My intention was all along to build a handicap lift to provide my father access to my home. He's currently 93 years old, and with the wind, the ocean, and other seasonal elements, he's unsteady and is unsteady balance. He's physically unable to access the home. By creating access through the garage and an interior set of stairs into the garage, this would allow my father to visit. The second reason is necessity for my own physical condition. Please see the attached evidence of medical request as a reasonable accommodation. I recently had extensive knee surgery and it was unsuccessful. It is inevitable that I'm going to need 2 knee replacements, and without interior entry to my own home, I will be unable to enter my own home. I struggle now climbing up 20 steps while trying to carry groceries, my daughter in her car seat. Interior stairs would alleviate the majority of these problems and be much safer. The existing garage has a set of pre-existing stairs to the second floor of the garage that's currently being used for storage. 2 years ago, I applied for a permit to install a shed to create storage due to the home having no basement or attic for seasonal storage. The intention was to build the shed and then replace the breezeway and be able to have the area over the garage as increased living area. I've spent over $10,000 in survey work, architect's permitting to replace what existed for over 73 years, to make my home accessible for my blind father as well as myself. At no time did I remove the breezeway voluntarily or raise the house 6 feet above the flood zone. The breezeway was ordered to be removed, and it was explained that I would be able to rebuild it after the elevation project was completed. The flood maps changed, therefore reducing the flood elevation, which was not in my control. I complied with the order from Conservation, and I complied with FEMA requirement. During the zoning hearing, it was requested that I work with the building inspector from Situate to ensure that the project complied with FEMA requirements. The Situate building inspector, Robert Vogel, submitted the plan and determined that by creating a 1-inch gap between the 2 structures, that it would meet FEMA requirements. Approval of this project would also ensure that the existing garage, currently not in compliance, would then be in compliance with FEMA requirements by adding flood venting, which was designed. These changes and additional architectural plans, new survey plan provided by Steinbeck Engineering, as well as the board's request from a statement from Robert Vogel, Situate building inspector, has been provided to the board. During the permanent process of the FEMA elevation project, it was discovered that my property is not on a barrier beach. Therefore, concrete piers were allowed to be installed. I believe I should be permitted to replace the structure as it was pre-existing and removed involuntarily. I have driven through many roads in Marshfield and seen many homes with attached garages that are well within the flood zone. There is currently a home right around the corner from my home with a garage being built much less than 10 feet from the new home being constructed. During this process, it was the building inspector that suggested that I create the 1-inch space between the 2 structures to stay in compliance with the FEMA and flood requirements. I incurred further additional expenses for the survey work and architectural plans to meet these requests. I have complied with every request during this permitting process. I'm requesting that the Zoning Board of Appeals approve the reconstruction of the breezeway, allowing interior covered access to my property, creating accessibility for my disabled father and myself. Your appreciation is appreciated. And I have given you all of the documents that show that this structure existed since 1950, and I did not remove it voluntarily. And you have an updated survey plan from Steinbeck, the letter from Robert Vogel, the FEMA and MEMA requirements to bring the garage into compliance, and the medical letters explaining the necessity of the project. And I believe that I have provided you with everything. The last piece of information that I have, I was waiting to get in touch with Jack Sullivan, which I finally got in touch with him at 3:48 this afternoon. Jack Sullivan was the representative for the town who worked on this project for FEMA, and I asked Jack, along the way, did I at any time want the breezeway taken down? And he responded at 3:48 this evening, and I sent it to the zoning office as soon as I got it. I think you have it.
Yeah, we have a copy of it.
Hi, James. I manage your elevation grant representing you in the town of Marshfield. To determine eligibility of the application process required coordinating with MEMA and FEMA to develop the construction plans, among other things, were NFIP compliant. Removing the breezeway that connected to the garage to the home was necessary for compliance for the NFIP regulations. Once this was included in the plans, they were then approved. And that was from Jack Sullivan, who represented the town of Marshfield. So I think to show that I did not remove it voluntarily, I think I have met that requirement.
So do we have anything from the board?
You still need a variance, right?
I do. I need a variance because
I don't see that you meet the standard for the granting of a variance.
Well, the variance is only needed because I have to create the 1-inch space, and the 1-inch space is required by FEMA, or I can't construct anything. I can't have the two buildings touch each other, because therefore it would be out of compliance with FEMA regulations.
In order to construct the addition that you want to construct, you need the variance. But the house, you still have the house, you still have the garage. It's, in order to do the project that you want, you need a variance from this board.
Yes.
And I don't see that you meet the standard for the granting of a variance.
Okay. I respectfully disagree.
See, I'm of the mindset that he had it existing to begin with, that it was removed, as I think he has absolutely proved, involuntarily. It was part of the project. So I'm looking at it that it would be pre-existing, that he should be allowed to put it back. That we've already allowed other pre-existing structures to be reconstructed. This lot is clearly too small, that he couldn't have left a pile of rubble in the middle of the construction site. It had to be removed in order to do the construction that he's accomplished. There is no way he would have been able to, I don't see how he would have been able to trip over this breezeway for the last 2 years.
It lost the pre-existing status when he tore it down.
But I think he had no choice but to tear it down to do this construction project.
But it was taken
And
down.
he's back within a time frame. He's still in the midst of the project. He's back within that time frame to reconstruct it.
Bob, didn't you give us an answer on this already? And what,
In order to, if he connects it, he has to elevate the garage in order to comply with FEMA requirements. And that's why he needs variance, because we have a requirement that detached accessory structures be 10 feet away from the principal structure, and it wouldn't be. So that's the variance that he needs. The personal hardships are always compelling, but the hardship has to relate to the soil, shape, or the topography of the lot. And it can't be a personal hardship. That's not a,
But going with
Cognizant
that,
block.
going with the shape of the lot, with the shape of the lot would be the
look
requirement
at
to remove that
your
breezeway.
board has to decide what's unique about the shape.
Yeah, and my
Take a-
view would
take-
be the unique shape of that lot would be the requirement to removing that breezeway in order to accomplish this project.
That's not a shape issue.
No, but being in the flood zone is why I
Being
had to
in a
remove it.
flood zone,
That's not a soil condition.
the shape, the size of the lot.
It's not size is not a element of variance. You have to, the board has to find there's something unique about the soil, shape, or topography of the lot that especially affects this lot and doesn't affect generally the zoning district in which it's located.
But when you say the
Topography.
shape of the shape of the lot where the structures are on this
The
lot,
shape of the lot is rectangular,
correct.
and you would have to show that this lot, which, it's not a perfect rectangle, but I don't think I've seen more than a half a dozen times you get a perfect rectangle anywhere.
No, I get that, but I'm equating the shape of the lot to being, with this construction project, the inability to do it with the shape. If he,
Well-
if clearly, if he had an 8-acre lot, that he would be able to work around things and would be able to move.
Well, I'm
and-
not suggesting for a second that this lot wasn't a grandfathered lot.
Yeah.
It clearly doesn't meet those requirements. It doesn't meet the setback requirements either
Yep.
for the detached garage or the side setback or the rear yard setback. I mean, there's many nonconformities
Yeah.
about this thing. But the applicant here chose to reconstruct the existing home, tore down what was there, rebuilt it. Obviously, he rebuilt it even more than he needed to because he's higher than what he ultimately ended up having to elevate it
No fault of
to.
his own.
But it's no fault of, look at a FEMA requirement changed.
Sure.
I mean, it had
And
nothing to
changed.
do with anything. We grant variances routinely to allow stairs in the side setbacks, to allow, to facilitate handicap access.
Yep.
I can't answer the question about the elevator or a lift, but, I'm sure that there's something that could be done that would, facilitate that, but, look at it. I can't tell you what to decide, but I can tell you that you have to find something unique about the soil, shape, and topography of the lot, and that has to be connected to the type of hardship that you have here, and
Yeah,
Mr. Marathas, I think, has been very straightforward. I think he's a victim of his own circumstance to a certain degree because, you know, he reconstructed the house.
Yep.
But,
Well,
you
the
know, I've been
hardship
on,
of the
I've
shape
been
of the
on,
lot, in my mind, has already been convinced. And also, I'm looking at it that was pre-existing, that he had it there before. He's pointed out that the location of his lot also, even in, the FEMA is all about making property safe and wash away and everything else. If this gentleman needed to exit his property during a nor'easter in February, I'm sure he'd rather walk through a contained porch to his garage to be able to exit, over taking his wife and his child out into the elements.
again, you know, those are personal hardships that,
And I consider it a hardship.
Wouldn't the topography of the elevation of the property, isn't that the topography, the fact that property.
That's another
so
thing. I
a
would
typical
think so.
we've had topographical issues in Brant Rock.
Sure.
I saw Attorney Brodsky here, we actually litigated one. There was some low-lying area in the back of the property that was so low that it flooded, and the only place you could build a home was closer to the front lot lines as a result. That was a topographical condition that especially affected that lot, that didn't affect the lots generally in the district. And, you know, there was an argument there that that topographical feature of the lot forced the house to be approached to the front lot line. That's the type of topography issue that you need to establish in order to have a variance.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, this lot, I've seen it, but I don't remember if it's flat. I assume it's more or
I've
less
walked this
flat.
lot. I've been on this gentleman's property. You probably didn't even see me there, but I went down to it. It's a very unique piece of property, and he unfortunately is way up higher than he needs to be, just from the change, and he's trying to, you know, do the right thing. He's been here.
He has to
Right
elevate
along.
it because FEMA requires it.
Sure, I understand that, but now he went up here, and then they rearranged the flood maps. The house didn't change, the lot didn't change.
No, but the
ocean didn't
rule
change,
was
anything,
always,
and he
the
brought
rule
it
was
down.
always the same, that if he wanted to have the garage connected to the house, the garage had to be elevated too, in order
Correct.
for us to comply.
Yeah.
And the harm to the town is significant here, okay? If that breezeway is connected and it's not elevated, we have a issue with FEMA.
And if it goes away, but as he's saying, he's not gonna connect it. I mean, if it got washed
Correct.
away, well, I'm aware of what they're worried
The
about.
board has
that
to
it washes
decide
down the
whether
street.
a one-inch gap is connected or not.
Acceptable.
Well, that's in the building code. The building code says that if it's a 1-inch gap, it's not connected.
Well,
So,
The board has to decide this issue.
And the lot floods, which is a topography issue, and the reason why the house had to be raised is because it was a repetitive loss house. Because it sat so low in a flood zone, it was a repetitive loss property, which required the property to be elevated.
But by the way, the garage can be elevated and he can connect it. But you
Yeah,
gotta,
but
you
at
gotta,
that
you
point,
gotta modify
it
the
would be a
garage.
useless
How do you
garage.
get
He's not
it-
gonna,
How do I get
he
out of the-
mentioned that before, his garage is gonna be.
How do you
he's gonna
put the
need a
garage 12
handicap
feet?
ramp to get his car into his garage.
How do you get the garage, how do you get out of the garage that's 12 feet high?
so, can I just have a question? So FEMA required the removal. Did you get a grant from FEMA?
Yes.
To remove it?
Yes.
Okay.
They
So-
required the breezeway to be removed as part of the
So
elevation.
do you have any documentation that they say it's okay to put it back?
Yes, I provided that.
No, that's not what that says. That's just confirming the letter from Jack Sullivan?
No, from Robert Vogel, this
No,
board.
so
this-
he's not from FEMA, so he's from Situate, that's not gonna count. So my question is, do you have anything from FEMA? That's all we need to know, is do you have anything from FEMA that says that it is okay to connect it back and that there'll be no penalties anywhere to the town?
Yeah, yes, so this board asked me to go to the building commissioner who was assigned to this case, which was Robert Vogel. Robert Vogel, in turn, went to FEMA and MEMA. So if I went myself, they would say, I went myself and got the information. A representative, who was the building commissioner, went to MEMA and FEMA, and then wrote the opinion letter that you have in your package here.
Right.
So you have a letter from Robert Vogel that states, "To all, I have reviewed the plans for the garage renovation, expansion, and connecting bridge at James Marathas resident, 50 Ocean Street, designed by David Tonis, architect. The plans depict the bridge supported independently of the house with an air gap of 1 inch between the bridge and the house. They also show a total of 6 8x16 flood vents serving the garage, noted as 1 foot above grade. Vents are engineered as smart vents model 154520, rated to serve 200 square feet area. Garage floor area is noted 543 square feet, so venting is sufficient. Other conditions set forth in my email below appear to be met. In conclusion, I judge this decision complies with the pertinent regulations of FEMA and the Massachusetts State Building Code, 9th edition.
Now, who is that from?
That's from the building commissioner that was assigned to this project.
Consider.
And just so you know, he's right. Mr. Vogel was assigned to this case to handle the local permitting.
But we don't have anything directly from FEMA, we just have this.
I mean, I participated in a conference call with FEMA so that I could understand Mr. Marathis' situation.
Okay.
And I feel bad for him, okay, but.
It is a pretty crappy
But the
situation.
reality is, he can connect this garage to the house, but he's got to elevate it.
Or I cannot connect it and leave a 1-inch gap. According to the state building code,
But according to the Marshfield zoning bylaw, you can't.
I need the relief. Because I'm in a flood zone and because I need the relief to meet the FEMA requirement. I mean, this is not my choice. My choice would be to connect the garage. But the building inspector and the state building code and FEMA require a 1-inch gap. So I don't understand how that is not relief that's needed and not relief that is not, this relief is necessary to do this project.
And in all actuality, doing this project, the renovation you're gonna do on your garage is also gonna bring that more in compliant.
Correct. My
Because you're gonna
garage
have
is
the
not
relief
compliant
vents.
right now.
It's not compliant.
My
So
garage
doing
is
this
out of
project-
compliance with FEMA right now.
And if you don't do the bridge, you'll be doing nothing with
That
the
is
garage.
correct. By doing this
So it'll stay
project, the
non-compliant.
garage becomes compliant in FEMA's eyes. Right now, the garage is not compliant in FEMA's
Yep.
eyes.
So is there any way you could build a ramp?
No, it's 12 feet. I would
12
need
feet?
the door to my house is 12 feet in the air.
What about, I thought you said, what's the elevation over there?
12, there's a picture of my house. This is the set of stairs that goes up to my house. It's 20 steps up in the air, 12 feet in the
Right, so the
air.
garage, I'm talking about the garage. So the garage is not insured by FEMA anyways, correct? So they don't really care
Well,
about it.
technically, the garage is in Marshfield, and it's out of compliance with FEMA regulations right now. So right now, that garage is not compliant with your town and FEMA regulations.
But does FEMA insure the garage? They don't care about the garage, do they? FEMA? I don't think they do.
I'm
I
not
think the
sure.
problem here is that unfortunately, with the criteria we have for a variance, it is a situation that maybe you weren't aware of or not, but it is self-created. You chose that property, you chose the situation, you chose to take the grant. This is the choices that you made, which is fine, but maybe not understanding the whole process. But you don't meet the criteria for a variance. As far as I'm concerned, it has not been proven that you meet that criteria. As unfortunate I think it is for you, your dad, the whole family, I don't believe that you meet the criteria, to be honest with you.
If the standard was personal hardship, you've met the standard, but that's not the standard.
The standard that I'm in a flood zone and that my house flooded, and the reason I had to elevate my house was because I am in a flood zone, which is a topography issue, and now I can't safely access my property.
There's nothing unique about your location. There's nothing unique about 50 Ocean Street that you don't share with 48, 46, 44, et cetera.
They're not 12 feet in the air.
But there's nothing about the shape or the topography of your lot that's different, that affects 50, that doesn't affect.
There actually
the
is.
street.
We had 3 major losses on the property because of the flood damage.
Every lot on that street, the ocean didn't just affect 50, the ocean affected that street.
Well, it did
That's
on
not
3 separate
necessarily true.
occasions.
That's not necessarily true.
It did on
If you
3
get onto
separate
Brent
occasions.
Rock- If you get onto Brent Rock, the Mannix's house used to get wiped out routinely. 2 houses next door would be fine. So that's not true, where he's had a
I'm
repetitive
literally on
loss.
top of the seawall. The house is actually sitting almost on top of the seawall. There's not another structure down there that bears the brunt of the storms like this house did and
you
does.
you couldn't put the lift in, right?
No, they wouldn't let me put the lift in because I'm in a flood zone.
So,
So I have no covered stairs to access or enter or access my home.
So they told you no lift, right?
Right, but I had the breezeway, and within 2 years ago, I had the breezeway. So I don't understand why I can't put it back and elevate it.
Well, that was the
when-
question I was asking Bob, but I mean, maybe you can be more clear, Bob, I think you were, is that when he took the grant and removed it voluntarily, you lose the status.
Yes.
So you don't no longer have the ability.
Yeah, he voluntarily took it down.
And I'm saying I did not voluntarily remove it.
Now, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, and
Name
it's
and-
not Samantha, Attorney Krowski Jr., for the record. I've been following along with this with Mr. Marathis. First of all, when we talk about different issues, I mean, this is within the board's authority to do this. And as practically speaking, when we talk about sending a message to the rest of the town, and I used to own a property in Marshfield, shouldn't we incentivize people to actually take, you make use out of grants and do to this property what Mr. Marathis did? He made this a better property. He made this a safer piece of property. The garage is now going to be FEMA compliant if this board grants what is a very small variance of allowing this structure to be within an inch of the property. But again, we're not talking about a new structure. This is a breezeway that was in place for how many years now?
73 years.
73 years. And so, I mean, you can say that, well, you did it of your own making, but I don't think that's the message that you send to someone. I know this board has certain amounts of discretion, but what you don't have discretion to do is continually send him things and conditions you want him to meet. And in good faith, he relies on every single thing you wanted him to do. He went out and he got the engineering plan. He went out, and I don't know under any theory, either a lay theory or a legal theory, how you can suggest that the breezeway was voluntarily taken down. You see the project manager's own email saying that has to come down to make it FEMA compliant. And look, I guess you could have said, we're just going to leave that structure there. It's already, and it is unique where that sits in that part of Ocean Street. That property is susceptible to flooding more so than other properties on that street. And so
How
again,
so?
because of where it's positioned at that point.
How is 50 different from 48, different from 40 or 52?
Come over on any storm and
I've-
watch the waves hit
I'm-
that seawall. They land directly. My yard gets flooded every single time there's a storm, and all the properties around me are not flooded when I'm flooded.
And we know that happens. I owned 4 Foster, and you can be in one house that you can be bone dry, and 2 lots away, you can have all kinds of damage. My neighbor, 1 house over to the right, had to come in and get a special permit to add rocks over there. Where I was fine, he was taking water damage. I mean, it does happen. That's just part of living on the coastline. But I think this is something that the town should get behind. And you're going to get a garage that is now FEMA compliant. That is a better and safer structure. And let's talk practically speaking, a 73-year breezeway that sat there. He's now going to put a new, safer, better breezeway, and it's going to be safer not just for the structure itself, but for him and his father. And we can agree to disagree. I think topography, including the elevation and the fact that it floods, is part of something within the realm of considering topography of an area. So there is something unique about. Now, unique doesn't mean it's the only one. So to your point, sure, there might be other lots on Ocean or Foster, some of these streets that also are unique. Unique doesn't mean it's the only one, but certainly it's unique from a lot of the lots on that road that don't take the type of damage that, you know, that lot takes in storms and during times of flooding. But we're dealing with 1 inch. 1 inch.
Well, addressing each one of those, I think he's proven the fact that it is unique. For the mere fact, he's multiple losses on this property, that proves it right there. There's other houses within a few houses that have lawns in that area, so they're not affected like his property is affected. The breezeway was there for 73 years. He took it down as part of this project. Next, the town is getting a more compliant piece of property. The garage is going to be made FEMA compliant. All he's looking for is a variance to encroach on this secondary structure to his house. And he just wants what he had, and he's done a great job, and I think the attorney points out very well that we should incentivize the people in the town of Marshfield to do these type of renovations in their properties. get them up, bring them up to the code. We have a lot of properties that need this type of renovation. Are we gonna scare them away from doing this type of project?
So, I mean, I guess my question is, number one, you got a grant to do this. I don't think, did you have to go up as high as you did?
Yes.
Yes.
You had to
It
go
was
up as
required.
high as you did,
It was required.
to go as high as you did?
The grant required you to go 3 feet above base flood elevation.
Okay.
And then the base flood elevation changed after my project was done.
He would have preferred not
I
to
would
go
have
as high
preferred
as he
not to
did.
go this
So
high.
why couldn't,
Had to.
the thing that I'm struggling with is, if you can do this now at 1 inch, why couldn't you have just done it then at 1 inch? Like, what happened that you couldn't do it back then?
When you say back when you were.
So when you took the house down and this requirement was applied, couldn't you have just removed the 1
FEMA
inch?
doesn't allow you to add additional work into the grant of elevating a home. You can only elevate the existing structure. They would not allow me to add the breezeway in the garage.
Oh, the breezeway wasn't there.
It was there.
No, yeah, you said it was there, so but if it's part of the house, it was attached to the house, right?
They required it to be removed.
But I'm asking, if FEMA then said that, why didn't someone say you could just cut an inch off it and leave it? Is it,
Because it wasn't elevated. It needs to be elevated. Breezeway
Would've been
has
a
to be
breezeway to
elevated.
know.
I
it would've been a
understand, but
breezeway
you would have had a breezeway elevated, so,
They won't allow you to roll that into the grant. It has to be done separately.
but
The
that's what
breeze-
I'm saying, so now the breezeway that we're rebuilding does that conform with FEMA? You have something
Yes.
from Bob Vogel, I understand, but we don't have anything from FEMA or MEMA.
Well, you asked me to get it from Bob Vogel, who
I did- we-
represented
we-
the
yeah,
town,
well-
and he communicated with FEMA.
We asked to get it,
But
we
if
wanted
I
to.
got it
we-
from FEMA, you'd say
For
that I
me,
got
my
it.
fear is that I don't want to do something that FEMA doesn't want us to do.
Okay, so
period.
then make
So
the
that-
approval subject to this not negatively impacting FEMA.
But I
And then
don't
we'll
understand this line in this thing that you sent us that said you had to remove it, but now you're saying all you may have had to do was cut an inch off it.
No, the house is in the air.
I understand where the
Even if I
house is.
cut- Even if I cut an inch off of the breezeway would still be on the ground.
The
FEMA
breezeway
wasn't
before was
allowing
at
that.
ground
Correct,
level.
but
It
why-
had to be torn down.
You lifted the home, right?
Right.
Why couldn't you have lifted the breezeway?
FEMA
wouldn't
wouldn't
pay
allow
for
it. They required,
So how are they saying it's okay now?
Because it's gonna meet their requirement, it's gonna be elevated. They wouldn't pay to elevate it, they only pay to elevate the structure.
I think that's all about money.
That answers his
The
question.
grant will only pay to raise the structure of the
So I
house.
understand the grant, it's just the problem I have is FEMA saying this is okay? You're saying, so if you had offered to pay for it originally, you could have done
You
this?
can't do it, any extra work under the project. Believe me, I tried adding, they won't allow you to add anything. It's to elevate the main structure, period. That's it.
Sequentially, Mr. Marathis is doing it the absolute way it had to be done, in the way that FEMA would have mandated it to be done. To your point about FEMA, Mr. Vogel is the expert, and he's the liaison, and he's the one that interprets the FEMA regulations. In his professional opinion, which I think is unchallenged, that as proposed, it will comply with the FEMA regulations.
I think FEMA determines
Yeah,
their own
we get,
regulations.
we get stuff from
They
FEMA.
determine their regulations, but he's an expert that's
he's
reviewed
making-
it, and he's
He's making
saying,
a call, but he's not gonna be the one that foots the bill if Marshfield ends up in the soup because this gets permitted. You know, he's off in Situate saying, whoops. But he's not gonna pay the town of Marshfield's delta when they lose their funding because they permitted a project that FEMA said, you can't do that.
But on the-
FEMA made you take it down. You knew the consequences when you took it down.
On the record, I spoke to the representative from FEMA, and they told me that as long as there was a 1-inch gap, they don't consider the structures to be attached. So,
Why
I
don't
mean,
we have that?
Short of me bringing the FEMA representative here to sit
Well, I
in
mean,
front
you
of you and
could,
tell
you
you
could have
this.
something from them because they were on those
Even with the 1
emails.
inch gap, you have to have a variance, and he doesn't meet the criteria.
Correct.
So even with the 1 inch gap from FEMA saying, yay, you can do that, you still need a variance. You don't meet the criteria for a variance. I'm sorry. You don't meet the criteria. We can go around about this till,
I know,
You
you
know.
know what, for me, I have enough information. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak? Cosmo Macero? Hello?
Is there any,
Now?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, name and address for the record.
I'm sorry, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cosmo Macero, with my family, my wife Carrie Macero and her sister, we are the owners of 46 Ocean Street on abutting an adjacent property. I thank you for the time to join, and I joined to support the petitioner, James Marathis, on this. Just a couple of things, and I'll be brief. I believe strongly that Mr. Marathis has, at each stage of this project, complied with the oversight and the regulatory requirements of every agency, of FEMA, with the Mass Building Code, and with direct guidance from the Marshfield Building Department. And I absolutely believe that this hardship is beyond a personal hardship. It's a hardship that's related to the topography of that site. And and the one thing I can speak with expertise for sure, to the notion that 50 Ocean Street is no different than any other property on that street, that is absolutely untrue and incorrect. Not only is 50 Ocean Street unique, I would argue it is singular on that road. We are the adjacent property, 46 Ocean Street. The level and the number of repeated losses that that property has experienced is absolutely remarkable and unique. And again, I would say singular. Our property, with the help of God, has not experienced that. And not one of the board members or one of the attorneys mentioned how other homes along that street have lawns and other features that would be repeatedly damaged and destroyed by storms. We're one of those homes. The topography is not flat. It's uneven because of the impact on the water, but we do not have any of the type of losses that that home at 50 Ocean Street has had. And I agree with the attorney who spoke to the message that Marshfield is sending. The hardships that this homeowner is enduring are basically ignored. He's improved the property. He's made the property safer. That's something that should absolutely be incentivized. It should be encouraged. And I think the community should be behind that. And I believe there must be a solution to this, because it seems that the situation he is in absolutely calls for the variance that he seeks, and it would be my hope that the board supports that and approves it. I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. So, anyone else from the audience?
Sure, I'll chime in quick, Steve Bjork. I'm not going to talk about the variance at all. I don't have a horse in the race here at all. I wish you the best of luck. But as a past member of the Situate Conservation Commission and involved in some of the FEMA work over there, I can say that if it is disconnected from the structure, it actually would comply with the FEMA regulations. So I know you want to hear from somebody from FEMA, but I used to do the certificates of compliance for Situate, and we actually had one customer that had to go out with a chainsaw and cut his deck away from his house, and FEMA said it was compliant after that. So that's the only comment I have.
Thank you. All right.
Real quick,
so-
Brian, why couldn't we, if we were so inclined to go with a variance here, make it that it would need to be approved as an order of condition, approved by FEMA? Conditioned on FEMA approval of the garage.
Can we do that, Paul?
I mean, the garage complies because it's not, well, I think he has to make some modifications to the garage to allow.
He doesn't have to do anything. If he does nothing, he doesn't have to touch it.
Wrong. He has to make some modifications to the garage. I think he has to have some vents added to the garage.
Are you under,
So
do
could
you
we
have
have
to
it,
do
the
that as of right
project
now?
complies
No.
with FEMA?
If he does the project, he's going
If he
to
does
make
the
that
project,
garage.
but if you don't do this project, you don't have to touch your garage.
He still
It
has to,
stays.
because the garage is located in a different flood zone, he still has to have flood vents in the garage, okay? The issue is, it will comply, and it will comply if it's detached, okay? The problem is, we have a zoning bylaw that doesn't allow you to do what he's doing, and it's not a 1-inch problem, it's a 9-foot, 11-inch problem. It's not a 1-inch problem, it's a 9-foot, 11-inch. We have a requirement.
10 foot, yep. But now, what I think he's getting at, what we're missing here, if he does nothing on this project, the garage stays, you do nothing to the garage,
No, he has to
correct?
put flood vents in.
No, only if I do the project.
If he does something to the garage. If he does nothing to the garage, just
I was
leaves
on
it.
a call and I heard them say that you have to put flood vents in on your
As
garage.
part of this project. It's in the plans for this project.
Right.
Right,
But if you connect it to the house, you have to elevate it.
correct.
But if he does nothing, the
I'm
garage
not-
stays
I'm not,
untouched.
like, this isn't a FEMA compliance issue. This is a zoning issue. And our
Well,
zoning-
I'm all set with giving the variance to encroach on the structure. I'm good with that. But my concern is with the town, to make sure the town doesn't pay a penalty for allowing this. So us doing it as an order of condition that it's
Yeah, we can put
approved
in
by
that-
FEMA,
The project that he's doing is approved by FEMA.
that you get the variance as long as FEMA says that's okay, the town will pay no penalty for that acceptance.
And I'm happy. All right, so,
Would you be happy with that?
Yes.
Yes.
but so I'm ready to,
Is that a thing, Aspa, is that a thing that they do? that
I
for?
don't think it's a thing. I don't think
so,
that's
can put it
So what are we gonna do? Assess
So we're
Mr.
gonna-
Marathis the cost of whatever it costs the town for compliance? I mean, that's ridiculous.
No, but if the FEMA says, no, that's not gonna be FEMA compliant, he doesn't get the project, he doesn't do it.
If you give him a variance, he doesn't ever have to come back here at all.
But if we give
And
him a
if we have
variance
a
with a
FEMA
condition.
issue, there's no remedy against Mr. Marathis. That's not, and nor should there be a remedy against Mr. Marathis. Okay? I mean, look at, I told you what the standards are. The board is free to do what it wishes.
The question is, does he meet the standard for the granting of a variance? It can't be, we can't grant a variance conditioned on the action of some other entity. Either he meets the standard or he doesn't. I am squarely of the opinion, despite all of the efforts that Mr. Marathis has made to provide information that ideally would have been provided initially, that he doesn't meet the standard, and to me, it's not even close. There's nothing unique about his lot that, in his situation that does not affect other lots in the district. The hardship is of his own creation. I know there's the argument that it was not voluntary, but still it's of his own creation, and.
Well, I'm ready to close if everyone else is.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we,
Do you have anything, Mike?
make a motion that we close 2284 James Marathis, TAG Family Trust, 50 Ocean Street. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Owen, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conley, aye.
Bob, I'm gonna do this in the affirmative. Oh, thanks, Grover. I'm gonna do this in the affirmative.
Who's voting on this one? Because you have you have to determine who your 5 members are and.
Grover, have you heard the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay. So it would naturally be Heidi, me. I'm forgetting who's, Feeney's not here, so Heidi, me, Larry.
Grover, me, you, Heidi, that's 2, 4, 5, you gotta pick one more.
Well, wait a second, no,
No, it's
that's not how it works. If anybody has missed more than one meeting and they can't certify, then you're a 4-member board.
okay.
Brian, you probably weren't here for the beginning, right?
For this, no, I've
All right,
been
so
here
you
for
can't
every
vote
hearing.
on this.
You can't vote, so Grover
Grover
can.
can't vote either because he wasn't here for all of it. So the voting members are Larry.
Wait a minute, you sure Grover,
I
Grover's
bet-
been at every meeting?
I've been to every one
I've
of
been,
these,
I
the
don't know
meetings.
that I was here with the very first one, though.
I've been to every
I
meeting on
thought I
this
was.
application.
Have you, Brian?
Absolutely.
On 50 Ocean?
Yes.
Started?
Well,
I
so,
think this started in August.
Yes.
it did, it definitely did. I have the date, I have my stuff right here.
It was my first meeting.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah.
if Grover doesn't think he was there for one, he shouldn't vote on it. And then got the 5 of you here, okay?
So us 5 are voting on this.
Correct. Unless Grover can affirm that he did something different.
I believe I was here for all of them.
All right, then,
Just, my client just has a concern that Mr. Sullivan was not here for one of the
It
meetings.
wasn't.
which meeting?
It was either the last one or the one before the last. One of the last 2 meetings, he
I
was
I
not here.
don't recall him missing a meeting, and
I
I'm
have
here at all.
yet to miss a
of them,
meeting.
so. But Brian, I mean, I think Grover's a regular full member, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Brian, are you associate or you full?
Associate.
Brian and I are
These guys
associates.
are the associates.
All right, and who's senior in time?
Mark.
Okay, so
I'm the low man on the totem.
you're the low man on the totem pole.
So it would be,
It would be Grover, it would be the three of you guys, Grover and Heidi.
okay. So I'm going to do this in the affirmative. I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a dimensional variance, subject, I'm going to do the variance first, subject to conditions based on a finding that the applicant has demonstrated that meets all the requirements of section 305-10.11 of the zoning bylaw. And so the conditions would be, we'd
You're
need,
also gonna wanna make sure you
Oh, yeah, we gotta
articulate
elevation.
why.
Yeah,
it
wait,
meets
I
the
wanna go-
standards, because if there were to be an appeal, you'd wanna make sure that the record
Right.
was clear as to the reasons.
so Nancy, can you put up the 7 items that we attached to a variance so we can show that we're in agreement with that?
It's 1011, section 1011.
10, 11? Oh, she knows how I'm doing.
The board has to make findings on each of the elements.
Right. We can't hear you, you're muted.
Thank you. I'm not sure how this is set up because it's not my computer, so I just need a second to find out where the code is. So just give me a minute.
Can I?
Website.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you what the standards are?
I mean, you could we
There's
could
five,
go over.
there's 5 standards in the
Right,
bylaw.
we have them here with the application, but we don't
I
have
usually
up
write
there.
them down too,
I know.
in my memos. It's not on this one, but
No, I have this. I
Let
have
me
it
bring
all.
up the application, it's on that.
I have them right here, but. So starting with 1.
Yeah, so it's 1, 2, 3. It's the 7.
Yeah, well, you have the 5 that we have to meet, so it'll be that the following circumstances relating to soil conditions, shape, topography, especially affect the land or structure in question, but do not affect generally the zoning district in which the land or structure is located. Does everyone agree?
I
with-
agree, I agree.
Number 2, that the literal
you
enforcement
should
of
vote
the...
on each one.
All right. Does everyone agree with number 1?
I agree.
I agree.
Grover Hensley, aye.
But do not affect the general zoning district. Okay.
You agree with that?
Yeah, it's not conforming garage, right?
Okay. All right, we all agree with number 1. Number 2, the literal enforcement of the provisions of the zoning bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the undersigned for the following reasons. Go ahead and read that and see if you agree with it.
Now, I want to point out real quick, right here in our application, it says right here, financial hardship. It's right there.
It's relating to the property, not to the individual, though.
Correct. I'm relating this all to the property. I agree.
I agree with that.
Heidi doesn't, do
Grover
you?
Hensley, aye.
You guys good?
Yeah, I agree with it. Go to the 3rd one. The unique conditions and circumstances are not the result or actions of the applicant taken subsequent to the adoption of this bylaw. Oh, sorry. The relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good for the following reasons. The garage exists and the house exists. Connecting the structure would be behind the garage and would be replacing an area of 2 previously connected. Is
I
everyone-
agree.
I just want to use the typewritten one for the standard.
Yeah, we did. I read that in. You agree with that?
I agree.
I agree.
Grover?
I agree.
Well, we'll hold on, Nancy. Heidi hasn't spoken.
No.
Heidi doesn't agree with it. I don't know that I agree with that one, so I'm going to say no on that. But go to the next one.
So then you and Heidi say no?
Yes. That the relief may be granted without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purposes of the zoning bylaw for the following reasons. There is no change in use. Expansion of use would be to connect the two structures which were previously connected.
I think that might be a misnomer, because he's technically not suggesting he's connecting them. He's leaving a 1-inch gap. If he's connecting them, we have a completely different issue with FEMA.
Right.
This was the original application.
I understand. Does everyone agree with that?
As explained, yes.
So,
Heidi? No. Heidi's a no. Grover? I'm a no, because it's not correct, but
Well, that's why I said as explained.
go ahead, Grover.
As explained, yeah.
All right. The strict application of the bylaw would deprive the undersigned of reasonable use of the lot or structure in a manner equivalent to the use permitted to be made by the other owners of the neighborhood land structures in the same district for the following reasons. Due to physical disability, there is a need to access this home from the garage in an enclosed area. Everyone agree with that?
I agree.
I agree.
Mark?
No.
I'm a no.
No.
Number 6?
Just one no, Brian?
No, there was Mark, myself, and Heidi were no's. Grover and Larry were yeses. Number 6, that the conditions and circumstances are not the result of the actions of the undersigned taken subsequent to the adoption of the bylaw for the following reasons. As a result of a Concom requirement, the connecting the area was removed to elevate the structure. It was, can you lift that up, Nancy? It was endorsed,
Understood.
understood that the two could be reconnected after elevation. Does everyone agree with that?
I agree.
no.
Someone's not.
I don't agree because it's clear it wasn't allowed.
So
So
can you just recap who does not agree?
Brian, Mark, and Heidi don't agree. Grover, did you agree or disagree with that?
Disagree.
So everyone but Larry disagreed. Larry agreed.
Okay. And that was 6?
What was that? Yeah, number 6, yep.
Yeah, okay.
That if the relief, if approved, would not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with the limitations upon the properties in the same district for the following reasons. There are many homes with connected garages.
No point.
Does everyone agree with that?
I agree.
I agree with that.
I agree.
Oh, everyone agree?
No. this is
Heidi
not
doesn't
connecting
agree.
garages, No.
Okay.
All right, so that's that. Now, we have our conditions in there, Bob. Are we missing anything?
Well, you've now taken votes, and a majority or a 4/5 vote of you have not agreed for all the findings, and they all have to be adopted with a 4/5 vote.
Okay.
So couldn't grant a variance here, given
we
the
can't
findings that
grant
you've made.
Okay, so now, but
There are multiples, there are more than two of you, there are 2 or more of you that disagree on at least 3 of these factors. And absent 4 or 5 of you agreeing on all of these factors, you are not granting the variance.
Okay. So, but I did it in the positive, so us that voted against the pieces of it that we didn't
You
like.
didn't make your findings, and you have to make the findings
All right.
before you can grant the variance. And now you've made your findings, and the vote of your board, the way I understand it right now, is that 2 or more of you have disagreed that the necessary elements are all present, therefore it is not in favor.
On the initial application and the circumstances.
So-
have changed.
That's a problem. This is, some of these provisions had misnomers because this is the original application with the language about actually connecting to the house, the breezeway, which in fact it's not
Now,
going
hold
to
on,
be.
are we closed here?
You've already closed the hearing.
Yeah, so I can't hear from you unless we vote to let you speak, right?
Right, I was just raising the point.
That is what's before us, is the original application, is it not?
I mean, the reason I spoke up before, because it said he was connecting to something, And I wanted you to make sure you understood that that's not what he was proposing
Right. No, I
as this
understand that.
process has evolved. He's actually proposing to elevate the breezeway and leave a 1-inch gap between the garage that's not going to be
No, I
elevated.
understand what he's doing, so
right.
and I didn't agree with it, so, even with it explained. All right,
So is there an updated version of this application? Because this is what we're voting on, what's in front of us. So is
Right.
there an updated version of this
I'm
application?
gonna reopen, if you guys would like to hear from
No,
this.
we don't have to do that. If we can just see if there's. an
Nancy, do
updated
we have an
version.
updated version of this?
Go through that again.
There's no updated
Then
version.
this
There's
is,
no, so we have to,
That's what we're
this
voting
is
on,
what
what
we're
we-
using, okay.
I'm bringing up the actual bylaw.
Well, no, it doesn't matter, we already have the application, and we're going
Actually,
over
you
the
you were
language
looking at
in-
the application so you could get the legal standard. You weren't looking necessarily for the rationale that was offered by Mr. Marathas. You were looking at the legal standard.
Yeah, I understand that.
You were reading my comments.
so the,
No, it's whether or not we agreed to the answers.
so all you need is the variance.
I understand, but in order to get to the standard, you have to have an answer.
So the question is, does anybody on the board think that you were talking about a connected structure when you took your vote?
No.
No.
Okay, so then everybody understood what was being proposed.
All right, so now, this convolutedness, I've read everything in, we read those in,
So,
Well, you made a motion to approve.
right,
Okay, but you didn't make any findings.
findings, so.
Absent findings, you can't grant the relief. You have to actually make those findings. Then you went over the findings and you don't have a sufficient, vote of your board to grant the relief.
So now
So
we're,
now you have to vote it again in light of the votes you took on the underlying required standards. And remember, the elements of a variance are conjunctive, not disjunctive. You can't find some and not others. You have to find all of them. And unless, 4 of 5 of you found all of them, it's not a grant. It's a
Okay.
denial.
so now would I move to leave it in the, do it in the deny version?
So now you would restate the motion in
Okay.
light of the findings.
In light of the findings,
Well, look at it. You can do it either way. It doesn't make
I
any
can do
difference.
I move that the
You can
board
move
deny.
that the board grant the variance, and then I've explained to you the effect of your votes.
Right, so we just vote, how
Correct.
we voted, all
You
right.
can move again to grant the variance. It can be seconded, and then you take a vote again. And I've explained to you, based on your findings, what it is, and I'll
I
guide you
don't have
through
the
it to
findings,
the
so I'm
extent
gonna
you
move
need it.
that the board vote to deny the petitioner's request for a for a variance.
I think you want to move to grant it, because that's what you did initially, and I reminded you that you can't grant the variance without
The
acting on the
findings.
findings.
All right, so I'm gonna move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a dimensional variance, subject to the conditions, we don't have any, because.
Subject to conditions.
That it,
All you have to say is subject to conditions. You can
Conditions.
vote on conditions if somebody changes their mind and you
Right.
get a 4/5 vote.
based on a
So
finding.
then you do it, someone has to second it.
Right, based on a finding in an applicant that has demonstrated that he meets all the requirements of section 10.11 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Owen, no.
Brian Murphy, no.
Heidi Conway, no.
Rover?
So it's 2 votes in favor, 3 votes against.
No, it's 4 votes against, 1 in favor.
It's 4-1?
Yep,
Thank you.
Didn't Larry and Grover vote yes? Oh, did Grover vote no?
I voted
Oh,
no.
okay. I misheard him then. It's 1 vote in favor, 4 votes against, it fails.
All right, so do I have to do the special permit too?
You can act on the special permit too.
So I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to the.
Make sure the special permit application is up in front of you.
Give me a second.
So I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit subject to
So hold on a
conditions,
second.
and we have findings.
So hold on a second. The way I understand this application, looking at it now, and if Nancy, you could just scroll down so that I can see the other paragraphs. Okay, so looking at this now, what Mr. Marathas did is he applied initially for a special permit in the alternative for a variance. You've denied him the variance, and because it required a variance, it didn't require a special permit. So, in my opinion, you would be denying him the special permit because it's not the appropriate relief.
Okay,
Well, variance was required.
all right.
The board could grant him a special permit, and it could be the wrong relief, and if nobody appealed it, it could stand.
Yeah.
But in light of the vote that you've just taken on the variance, which was the appropriate relief for him to ask for, you should deny the variance, in my opinion.
All right.
Deny the special permit.
Deny the
special permit.
special permit.
So I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to conditions to alter and extend a non-conforming residential structure based on a finding that the applicant has demonstrated that she meets all the requirements of section 1012 of the bylaws. Do I have a second?
Second. Larry Keane.
All those in favor?
I'm gonna stick with this gentleman, should be able to build this. I'm
That's-
disagreeing with it.
So Larry's a yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mark Owen, no.
Brian Murphy, no.
How do you tell me no?
Grover?
Brian's a no.
All right, so that's it.
You give him a written decision, and
14 days. Thank you.
Back job.
All right, so now we're gonna go to the beginning.
So, can you give me like 5 minutes?
Yep, oh yeah, we gotta readjust.
Sorry, 2 minutes, I can do this in 2.
Yep, go ahead.
Brian, Mr. Bjorklund's my favorite non-client.
Somebody's gotta like him.
Yeah,
That's one in a row.
Might as well be you.
one in a row.
That's all right. Someday we'll do something together. Just won't be in this town, that's all.
I like Wareham. Do you like Wareham?
How's everybody doing?
How you doing, Andrew? We're just waiting for Nancy.
Who's up? Oh. You're all over the place today. Poor thing.
All right, so we have 22-119, Steve Bjorklund. Petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1010 and 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 30-foot by 58-foot two-story dwelling on the property located at 25 Lawrence Road, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel G121814. It's located in the R1 zoning district.
How's everyone doing tonight?
Go ahead,
Good so far.
name and address for the record.
Steve Bjorklund, 861 Main Street in Norwell. What I have is a undersized lot, And if you look at the left-hand side of the plan, there's an existing dwelling out there that's set back about 14 feet from the layout of Lawrence Road. And other than that, it complies with the rear yard setback and both side yard setbacks, which are 20 and 20 on the sides and 40 in the rear. So the only non-conformity as far as the structure is concerned is the 14-foot setback. So I am looking to take that structure down and replace it with what you see on the right-hand side of the plan, which will be 26 feet back from the layout of Lawrence Road and still meet the side yard setbacks and the rear yard setback. That's pretty much it.
All right.
So you're reducing the front yard nonconformity. Obviously, the lot size is not changing.
Yep.
So you're actually decreasing the nonconformities here,
We're
Yeah,
decreasing the
correct.
non-conforming nature, yes.
plain and simple. Yep. I
know
drove
it's
by
something you
here.
don't normally give up, and I
Yep.
should probably keep it straightforward
Yep.
and use that area, but I
Yep.
think that for the purpose of this lot and the neighborhood that's out there, I want to try and have some parking in front of the garage.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody ever came along and wanted to improve the layout of the roadway,
Yep.
I don't want this to sit right on the road, so I tried to push it back far enough that it will look good either way with the dirt road that's there now.
Yeah.
for the
Well, I can't
access.
speak for the other board members. I drove there and I went to this property, and this neighborhood is under renovation. There's quite a few properties that are being upgraded. So this looks at something that would be very valued to the community.
I think this one's probably one of the most straightforward ones I've done.
Yep. I don't know if any of the other board members had an opportunity to view this piece of property, but the structure is definitely neat. And it looks better than it did a couple years ago.
It's on old wood pilings and stuff like that. There's no real foundation
Yep.
to it.
Any other questions from the board? Anything from the audience? Anything from the online audience on this? Right.
So what about, Bob had some questions about soil drainage, consider conditions to prevent off-site mitigation of stormwater and soil during construction.
Well, we can put out silt sock during construction. I can tell you that this area, we perked it this morning. And one perk, we put 24 gallons in 15 minutes and couldn't fill the hole up. And the other one was 4 minutes an inch. So it's a Silver Pine subdivision.
Yep.
And we were 10 feet deep on 4 of the holes, and it was just pure gravel the whole way. The area should be a gravel pit, actually. So I'm not predicting that there's going to be any off-site water, but we're certainly going to put the controls in
mindful.
place as
Okay.
required by the building inspector.
The bottom line, you got a good perk today.
Great perks. I'd love to have them on every site. Yep.
So this is pretty straightforward.
No, I don't think.
Move to close?
Yeah. Make a motion that we close 25 Lawrence Street, 22-19 Steve Bjorklund. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Heidi Conway, aye.
All right, now, I'll make I'll move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to conditions, a silt stock, and,
Yeah, just have them put like
Mitigation.
standard erosion
yeah,
control
standard
measures
erosion
in,
control.
acceptable to the building department, during construction, prior to construction, and maintain it until he gets his occupancy certificate.
And then the proposed site plan should include a building area and open space calculations along with
Yep.
lot area. This project will require a building permit, final as-built, and certificate of occupancy.
And you're not endorsing the sheds.
Yeah, we're not endorsing the sheds. And Andrew, can you put up the 1 through 10 for us? Is everyone in agreement with the facts that have been in front of you?
Yes.
I agree. So, so conditions to permanent. So this is conditions, and then we have the reconstruction of a home proposed on a set of plans dated February 2nd, 2022. Am I in the right thing? Do you have a building permit? Oh, the building permit plan is dated November 3rd, 2022. In the R1 zoning district, and the finding that the applicant has demonstrated that he meets all the requirements of section 1012 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Cohen, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conley, aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's the quickest you've ever been in and out of here.
I can't even argue with you guys, I don't know.
Now, we were hoping for one,
Really
too.
fun. Thank you very much.
Okay, who's next?
Not changing it.
So,
Any quick ones we could do?
This should be quick.
yeah, 22-120, Robert L. Gray. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1302 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to conduct dredging on the Wetlands District property of 249 Bay Ave, which is further identified on assessor's maps as being parcel M05-1014. It's located in the R3 zoning district.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adam Brodsky. I'm an environmental and land use lawyer, and I represent the applicant, Robert Gray, and I have with me this evening Tom Krasuski, our project engineer from Merrill, and I'll try and be brief. This is a small dredge project associated with a single-family house intended to improve safe access to the dock at the house. We're proposing to remove approximately 7,247 cubic yards of sediment to be removed from Green Harbor using a clam shell bucket dredge, and those dredge spoils will be transported to an approved disposal area. The Conservation Commission granted an order of conditions approving the project on September 9th, 2022, and as you know, we'll need to complete extensive permitting with the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection as well as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. This project will have no adverse impact associated with flooding. There'll be no adverse impact to salt marsh or tidal flats, and no adverse impact relating to water quality, sewage, or public utilities. And so we respectfully suggest that we're entitled to a special permit to do this work within the Coastal Wetland Overlay District, and Tom is here to answer any technical questions that you may have with respect to the project. Thank you.
Does anyone have questions?
Yes.
Susie.
Now, this is, this property that's being dredged, it comes into the channel. It's
Correct.
on the left-hand corner as it goes back towards the new bridge.
Correct.
Okay, what would keep further erosion away?
Okay, the good thing about this particular project here, what happens is this property in fact shoals from incoming storms. And if you look at the top where you see those coordinates A and B on the plan, that is the outline of the federal navigation channel, which the town is permitting for removal. There's actually going to be about 5 or 6 dredges taking place. So this is a really, I think, special time for Marshfield because they're all linking up together. So what's going to happen is we're going to dredge that out. We're going to link up and make sure that that's seamless with the town dredging of the Federal Navigation Channel in the ACO area. So you're going to have a nice, safe waterway here where it's going to come out, it's going to take it down, it's going to be safe and navigable for the commercial and the recreational vehicles to come through that area and come around the corner. I think you're going to generally find that that's going to be some nice, clean sediment in that particular area, unlike some of the other areas you get in deeper. But when everything's said and done, we will also work with the harbor master for shellfish mitigation in this area. And the nice thing is this is going to be done during time of year restrictions, you know, generally around Christmas time to January 31st, February 1st, when there's not much activity with the spawning species in there and the traffic is low in that area there.
Your comments anticipated my question, which was Steve Gard was in to get the other
Yep.
channel.
Yep, that's fine.
dredged. And can you coordinate with them in terms of sharing equipment or sharing
We are-
barges?
Mike DeMayo's the captain of the ship on this one, so we're all working with Mike on this one, and Fourth Engineering and Merrill, to try to get everything coordinated as close as we possibly can. And we will do our best to make sure it's as seamless as can. Mike really knows what he's doing with this stuff, so it's gonna go nicely. Will you see 5 dredges in there and taking place all at the same time? Probably not, because I was involved with the Plymouth Harbor dredging and coordinating some of the private entities in that. But you probably get about 2 or 3 of them in there, and they just jump right over to the other one. So, it's seamless. I think the first thing that's gotta happen is the ACO Federal Channel first, which is under Mike's bailiwick, not mine.
I was just thinking in terms of economies of scale.
Yep, that's what we're gonna try to do. Yep.
Certainly in our client's best interest to
Yeah,
piggyback
absolutely.
on the other projects.
Yep.
And we've already started coordinating with the harbor master.
That's
Yeah.
great.
I know
That's
the
great.
federal channel's been done before. I've profited off the flounder fishing afterwards. But has this section been dredged before?
No, this is gonna be classified as new and improvement dredging, and we'll ask it to be conditioned as maintenance dredging to make it easier as we go forward.
And what are you doing with the pile afterwards?
The material we're gonna seek to have that put at the Cape Cod disposal site. I think it'll be appropriate for that, but that's really up to the Corps of Engineers to decide that, and it'll be based on what they call a sampling and analysis plan. So we'll do some chemical testing, and they may ask us to do some biological testing. Sometimes they don't, and then they'll make that determination. So it's likely either be the Cape Cod disposal site or the Mass State Ave disposal site.
Anything else from the board?
Just for full disclosure, this is pretty much the end of a extensive permitting process, correct, this board?
This is
Yeah.
the beginning of an
Yeah, I was
extensive
gonna say,
beginning.
this
Yeah,
is
the
just
beginning,
start
the
of it.
beginning.
In the
The other
next
one.
year or so.
Yeah,
Going
yeah.
to Mass DEP,
Yeah, this is a-
Army Corps,
Yeah,
depending on the sampling.
Yeah, the
EPA.
locals are fairly quick,
Oh, is it?
because of the extensive requirements of the federals. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this to satisfy the federal regulations, the EPA and the Corps.
I was just assuming you were in tune with the harbor being done.
The what?
You guys were in tune with the harbor being done, the same
Yeah, we're
time
working
frame.
on the same permitting paths.
Okay.
Anything from the audience?
But Andrew?
Oh, Andrew, do you have anything? You're muted.
Sorry about that. They have an active floodplain permit.
Yep.
I did send this out for review with FEMA and the state floodplain coordinator, and then they had me reach out to coastal zone management, and I'm just waiting for their reply back. See if they have any issues from a floodplain management perspective, but as far as a zoning perspective, I don't really have anything else to add.
And just so the board and Andrew probably already knows this, when we file this with all state and federal agencies, the EPA, the U.S. Coast Guard, CZM, Division of Marine Fisheries, Bureau of Underwater Archaeological Resources. There isn't an agency I think we miss. There's about a good 15 agencies that see this thing, including the one that you did.
Sorry, and I just, and Tom knows this too, is that my job as floodplain administrator for the town of Marshfield is to make sure that all these projects are permitted through all of those various agencies. So that's just what I'm doing.
And we will apply for the local permit as well.
It's already been done.
And that's how we track all the other ones.
Yep.
All right, anything from the audience?
Joe Pasevich, 25 Wilson Road. Some basics, I'm curious about this. What are the property boundaries for that component? What are the property owners' property boundaries?
Okay, we're
Property at 249 Bay Ave.
We are working in the federal waterway, all right? That's property of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So that's why we need to get a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. You will not find a single dredge project, I haven't done one in 37 years that isn't done in that manner. So that's why it goes to the federal agencies, the DEP, the Division of Wetlands and Waterways, to mitigate, to work on improving the dredge.
So there are no property boundaries
No, what it is
Shown on-
coordinates,
shown on
the
this?
coordinates. It's coordinates. You see the coordinates?
I
That-
see the orange line, but
The
I'm
orange
just
line?
asking you what the property boundaries are for your client. Are they shown on that map?
The property boundaries are shown along the property here, right in that area there.
So,
Yeah.
so that black line?
Yes,
Which this is totally outside of your property line?
that's correct.
Okay. The other question is what ZBA permit exists to dredge? Is there such a thing as a ZBA permit to dredge?
So we require a special permit for work within the.
No, I'm asking the
wetlands.
ZBA, so,
To dredge?
yeah.
Yes.
Is there such a permit?
Well, we're giving him relief from 305-1302.
Which has to do with coastal wetlands, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Could you tell me where the coastal wetlands are on that map?
Andrew, you want to pull up the map and show him?
I'm trying to find out what zone you're in. Because the advertisement says you're seeking a permit under 1302 in the coastal wetland district. And I can't find that. I'm trying to find that.
All right, so this was not in the soil survey for Plymouth County from 1969. It's not located in that, but it is on lands in Marshfield covered by water of the average lunar monthly high tides and all the, so that's why it's before us tonight. Because it's tidal marshlands.
Anything else?
No, I still don't understand how you consider this tidal marshlands, because if it's covered by the average lunar high tide, what is the lower limit of that coverage of a coastal tideland?
What are you getting at? You don't think he needs a special permit?
Well, the one thing I get the impression is that, I just don't know, you say that the ZBA is gonna give him a permit, but I just don't see where the ZBA jurisdiction actually is. I'm trying to understand that.
Well, Andrew just
Because
pointed
if you
out
look
it's
at-
covered by water.
If you look at if you look at the zoning map, it is not in a coastal wetlands district.
But I think Andrew just addressed that with what he just pointed
There's
out.
two definitions in the bylaw, Joe.
Right.
It's the map and lands covered by water on the average lunar high tide.
Yeah, because it's adjacent to a coastal wetland, so the area adjacent to a coastal wetlands extends to the point. To what point? From, on the map, you can see land areas that are part of the coastal wetlands district. And they're outlined with a green line. And that green line does not extend to 249 Bay Ave. It also extends to the bank to the west of the proposed work area. And it does not include this area that's outlined with the orange triangle. And I'm trying to find out how far from that green line on the zoning map do you consider it tideland? You say it extends to the area covered by the mean high lunar, right? According to the
By the
definition.
water of the average lunar monthly high tides. So basically, what they're saying is from the mean low water, right here, up to the high water, that's land that is subject to tidal flow, and that is covered or uncovered. So that land is governed by this ZBA, and they are proposing to alter that topography within that tidal land.
So to apply it specifically to this site, mean high water on let's use the datum NAVD 88, which is land-based datum. It's elevation 4.12. all right? And everything that we are doing here is below that elevation. So therefore, we fit that definition, we're under that area.
The next question is according to the zoning rules, it's pretty straightforward, that dumping, filling, excavating, or transferring of any earth material within the district is prohibited. That's straightforward. You're not allowed to dump or fill or do any of that kind of stuff in that district. If you're considering this as part of the coastal Westland district, it's strictly and clearly prohibited to do any excavation, any soil removal in that district. So how do you get around that? Because this area has never been dredged before. Now, you can make a case for the federal channel. That's like historically and for ages been kept open, and the line is pretty well delineated where the limits of that work have always occurred. But this is something that's totally new. This has never been dredged before. And now you're going to open the window to dredging natural channels that have never been dredged before. And I just don't see how you get around the prohibition on removing soil in a coastal wetlands district. I don't see how you get around it. Somebody tell me. I mean, you know.
You can by getting a special permit, which is the exception for the prohibition.
Which is why you're here.
Which is why we're here.
So if that's a special permit, then what is the special permit for?
The activity proposed by the applicant. The special permit is for the dredging of that area. And you're saying that it's never been dredged. Do you think that something that's never been dredged can fill in with silt?
Well, it reaches some equilibrium over time. Any water course or channel reaches a certain equilibrium. And again, the federal dredging.
Joe, we've answered you that. Do you have another question?
Is well established.
Do you have another question?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
But I haven't got an answer for that.
You have another question?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, may I? All right. The elevations that we are dredging to are the same exact maintenance elevations that all the other previously dredged areas are, so they marry up perfectly. And then the federal channel will be dredged a little bit off. So what we're doing is we're actually putting, this is shouldered from storm damage, we're putting it back to the natural grades it previously has been at, and marrying everything up nicely. And you're gonna end up with a better water column out there, a healthier water column for everything to grow and nourish.
Thank you.
Well, that's all speculative, because first of all, they're claiming that this area shoals up.
Joe, do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Go with the question, please.
What is the impact going to be on the Cut River and on the rest of the harbor when you dig out at this big pool, this big open depression area? Does anybody know what that impact is going to be?
Do you have an answer for that?
Because you claim to know that it's shoaling now, but obviously it's not shoaling to the point where it's like becoming high, dry land. Obviously it's reached some sort of equilibrium. And when you then dig out this big tub of soil, what is the impact going to be, say, for example, on the Cut River, on the flow of water in and out of the Cut River? Does anybody know? I mean, as long as
Okay,
we're
wait a
talking
minute. Shh,
about-
shh, we got it. Let him answer the question that you just asked,
sure.
okay? Thank you.
Okay, it's not gonna be a tub, it's gonna be coordinated with the town so that we make sure that all the elevations match up with the federal channel that we're doing out there. And then it's gonna reestablish the natural flows that are in that area there. It happens every year, they've been doing it for decades in this area here to put things back to the way they naturally were. And that's been well established by decades of permits and many permits in there. It's around elevation -5 mean low water. That's all we're doing.
Thank you.
I have another question. Well, that doesn't answer my question, because you're claiming to know about natural conditions.
All right, Joe, I'm done here. So,
But the next question
no,
is-
I'm done. Does there anyone else have another question in here?
Let me just
Does anyone else have another question in here? Anyone online?
you claim-
Thank you.
You you claim that you're dredging 7,000 cubic
All right, so I'm gonna
yards,
move that
but
the
Concom-
board close
Concom order condition says it's 5,000 cubic yards.
22,
Why is there a
120,
difference?
Robert L. Gray,
Second.
249 Bay Ave.
You see,
All
folks,
in
this is what
favor?
happens when someone with deep
All in
pockets
favor?
comes in, and you got a ZBA that's a rubber stamp.
All in favor?
Larry Keane,
Citizens
aye.
can't have any questioning at all, and you laugh and you go, oh, that's the crazy
All in
guy."
favor?
But you're
Larry
breaking
Keane,
the
aye.
law,
Mark?
because someone's got deep pockets.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Robert Hensley?
Grover Hensey, aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
we're gonna, now we have to,
We just closed the hearing.
We just
We
closed
just
it.
closed the hearing. We still
we
need
haven't-
to vote.
we have to do the,
Just close, Tom.
all right. Now I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner a request for a special permit, subject to conditions. Obviously, you'd have to get the
Can we shut that door?
other stuff that you need done. And, you know, the other permits, anything else, anything you think of?
We're happy to give you the copies of the permits when we get them too.
Okay,
That's fine.
We obviously need to comply with
Right.
all other.
You need-
applicable
right.
laws.
Can I make a suggestion?
sure.
Right. Just, if you just say that they comply with the floodplain bylaw and the floodplain permit, that's literally gonna cover everything they have to do.
All right,
Thank you,
And
Andrew.
it'll cover any zoning requirements as well.
incorporate Andrew's language, Nancy, into that answer. And then our special permit stuff, Andrew, is that up, dredging? The coastal wetlands, everyone is in agreement with that, obviously.
I agree.
I agree. I agree.
I agree.
Um,
Subject to conditions of permit, proposed dredging project based on a finding that the applicant has demonstrated that he meets all the requirements of section 1302 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Thank you.
Grover Hensey, aye.
Thank you,
Okay,
Grover.
thank you.
Now I can wish you a happy holiday.
Yes.
Holidays.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, gentlemen.
Good holidays, guys.
Thank you.
All right, 22-121, Nicole and Donald McNeil. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 14-foot, 4.5-inch full dormer on the property located at 11 Hancock Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel M08-47-03 and is located in the R3 zoning district. Go ahead.
We're looking to put a dormer, like you said, 14 foot, 4 inches wide on the existing layout of the house. We won't be,
Oh, name and address. for the-
Donald McNeil, my wife Nicole McNeil, 11 Hancock Street in Marshfield. So we're looking to put on the exact layout of the house, so we won't be extending the footprint at all. 14 foot, 4 inch dormer to create more room in the bedroom that's really small that's up there now for us.
Okay. Andrew, everything's covered in your notes, or do you have anything to add?
Nope, everything's covered in my notes.
Anyone from the board?
So are we going to read Andrew's notes to have the plan stamped by registered?
Oh, no,
engineer?
that- yeah, well, that
Okay,
goes in the answer.
Okay, well, I didn't know if they knew that, that's all, the applicant. It'd be nice if they had a heads up.
Well, that goes in the answer.
Okay. Yep, nope, I'm good.
Anyone else?
That was very straightforward to me.
I took some pictures of the existing house so you could see about where it was going and stuff.
We'll make a motion that
Is
we,
there a butter that said something?
anyone from the audience want to speak on this? No? All right, so I'll make a motion that we close 22-121 Nicole and Donald McNeil, 11 Hancock Street. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover Hensey, aye.
Thanks, Grover. I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, Subject to the conditions. How do you want to read Andrew's conditions?
Oh my God. So not for, let me
So,
see.
that the plans be stamped by a registered design professional due to the wind exposure in this area, subject to, and this will be up to the building inspector at the time of permit issuance as to whether or not stamp plans are be a requirement. The required building permit and a certificate of occupancy.
They should schedule a meeting with us to come in and just go over the plans.
Okay. You want to throw up 1 to 10, Andrew?
Sure thing.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Does everyone agree with 1 to 10?
I do.
Agree.
I
I
agree.
do.
Yes.
Heidi?
Yeah.
All right.
Move to grant the special permit.
Oh, yeah, so I already did the special permit, subject to those conditions I just stated. The permit, alteration or extension of non-conforming home, allowing the construction of a new second-story dormer as shown on the plan, dated, do we have a date on that? Any, just,
No, but really, this is an older
right,
plan.
as long as, I'll take the,
10/6/22/22.
10/6/2022, actually.
10/6/2022. And is in the R3 zoning district based on the finding that the applicant has demonstrated they made all the requirements in section 1012 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Cool and I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Coney, aye.
Grover?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you and good luck.
22-122, Dennis and Karen McLeod. McLeod. The petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 25.5 by 6'8" front porch deck, 26-foot 8 by 8-foot shed-style roof above the property located at 23 Baker Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel K1109, is located in the R3 zoning district. Name and address for the record.
Dennis McLeod, 23 Baker Street, Marshfield, Massachusetts.
Right. So go ahead.
Yep, so, kind of rebuilding the house due to a fire in July, and we wanted to make a modification on the front of it, put this deck that's approximately 7'5" by 26'8", right on the front. I understand it's non-conforming or whatnot on the corner, but the deck is purposely sort of shifted inward so it doesn't violate that edge of the house anymore. So it's within the foundation or within the footprint. And most of my land's in the front of the house, so as far as I know, there's no other issues going forward of the house with lot lines, etc.
Andrew, you have anything? Other than what you've given us?
Nope, pretty straightforward.
Sounds like it. Anything from the board?
Very straightforward.
Anything from the audience? All right, so I'll move that we close 22-122, Dennis and Karen McLeod, 23 Baker Street. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Cool and I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Coney, aye.
Thank you. And I'll make a motion that we I move that the board grant the petitioner's request for a special permit subject to conditions. This will require construction plans, a building permit, final as-built, and a certificate of occupancy. And we all agree with numbers 1 to 10 on the special permit.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Grover?
Agree. I agree.
Thank you. To permit the alteration and extension of non-conforming home and allowing the construction of a new second-story dormer as shown on the plan dated, do we got the date in the corner there? October
10/4/22.
10/4/22. And it's located in the R3 zoning district. I'm doing the, subject to the conditions, I read that, non-conforming, allowing the construction of a 25.5-foot by 6-foot 8-front porch deck, 26 and 8-foot shed-style roof above the plan dated 10/4/22, which is correct, in the R3 zoning district, based on a finding the applicant has demonstrated he meets all the requirements of section 1012 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Hall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ramsey, aye.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you all. Take care.
Thanks for waiting.
22-123, Veronica and Howard Wright. How you doing?
Hello.
The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012, 305-1301 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to raise and rebuild a 57 foot 2-inch by 38-foot 2-story dwelling on a property located at 80 Island Road, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel 116-07-01-01A. It's located in the R3 zoning district in the inland wetlands. Go ahead.
So basically, we want to tear down the house that's there, rebuild. We are not going over the current footprint except for the porch in the back and extending toward the road, so not going towards the wetlands any further. Anybody go by the house?
Mm-hmm.
Nice, huh? So significantly improving the neighborhood, rebuilding.
I don't know about that. I still live in the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
So you remember the house?
I know the house, yeah.
Anything else from the board? Anything from the audience? Andrew?
Just what I mentioned in my comments about the septic system and the Board of Health, you know.
Okay.
Excuse me. Also, Andrew, could you elaborate on the comment about the bedrooms going from one to the other? Number of bedrooms?
It's the same, it's 4 bedrooms.
4 bedrooms.
Yeah, it's allowed
Yeah,
4.
yeah. And we.
Gary gave us that.
We
no,
repaired the septic.
a year ago or so,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Typically, in my experience in the past, the Board of Health, with that type of a system, will ask you to do a deed restriction. Was that a requirement?
No.
Gary didn't ask for that in here.
I don't know if it was because it was a repair or not. I don't know.
If you don't have it, that's even better.
All he wrote is the repaired septic system is only sized for 4 bedrooms.
Yep, that's fine.
All right, anything else? Bob? Nothing from the audience? Now, make a motion that we close 22-123 Veronica and Howard Wright. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Hall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover Ramsey, aye.
So we'll start with the permit for alter extend non-conforming use.
I move that the applicant meets all the standards articulated under 305-1012.
Agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
Grover?
I agree.
Furthermore, I find that the plans as submitted meet the standards articulated in 305-1301 for alteration of a structure or use in an inland wetland district.
Everyone agree?
Agree.
I agree.
I agree. Heidi?
Yep.
Grover?
Agree.
Thanks for simplifying. And that's it? Right.
Move to grant the permit.
Move to grant the permit.
Second.
All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall and I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover Hensey, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, my neighbors, thank you as well.
Happy holidays.
Thank
Merry
you for
Christmas to you.
expediting.
Home.
All right, we have 22-124 Virginia Flynn. Petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to replace the existing non-conforming deck front egress with a 33.6 by 6-foot front deck and the property located at 20 Mayflower Lane, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being parcel K10-1410 is located in the R3 zoning district. Name and address for the record.
Virginia Flynn, 20 Mayflower Lane, Marshfield.
All right, what do you got?
I think you basically captured it. So I want to replace what is an existing non-conforming front egress. I think that's how Andrew explained it to me, with a deck. So it's coming out only 1.5 foot more from the house than it had previously, but the big difference is it's going to be the full length of the house. So going to allow, hopefully, if it gets approved, some rocking chairs on the front deck so that I can wave, to my neighbors as they're coming to and from the beach.
All right. We have anything from the board?
Nope, this appears very straightforward.
Andrew, just what's in your notes?
Yep.
Bob, you have anything? Anything from the audience? I'll move that we close 22-124 Virginia Flynn, 20 Mayflower Lane. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall and I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover?
Grover Hensey, aye.
Brian, you can read it.
I move that the applicant is demonstrating they meet the standards for the granting of a special permit for the alteration of a non-conforming use under section 305-10.12 of the bylaw, 1 through 10 inclusive.
Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall and
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover?
Grover Hensey, aye.
Then we gotta do the special.
Additionally, the applicant has demonstrated she meets the standard for the alteration of a structure in an inland wetland district under 305-13.01 of the bylaw, 1 through 6, 1 through 4. Sorry.
Everyone agree?
Agree.
I agree.
So motion to accept.
Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall and I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover?
Aye, aye.
All right, thank you.
All set? Oh, thanks very much.
What's that? Yeah.
The meeting with me lasted longer.
Yeah.
It really did.
The conditions will be.
That's why it's good to
this
go
will
to Andrew
require a
first.
building permit, final as-built, and certificate of occupancy. Standard. All right,
Thank
do
you.
we
Merry
have?
Christmas.
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks for waiting.
22-125, Peter S. Ryder and Judah C. Meredith. Petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to replace the existing non-conforming deck from front egress 33'6" by 6 feet, front deck, oh, I'm reading the wrong one. S. Ryder and Judah C. Meredith. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 12-foot by 15'8" one-story addition on helical piles in the property located at 10 Idaho Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel L040192, is located in R3 zoning district. Name and address for the record.
Peter Ryder, 10 Idaho Street in Marshfield. We're just trying to create a little bit more space in this house that we built about 20 years ago, 23 years ago. And it will be the same width as the existing house, coming out about 15 feet in length.
All right, sounds good.
Why helical piles, I'm curious, versus sonotubes or piles, just wooden piles?
The house is on wooden piles. The architect recommended the helical. My builder said, maybe they're more expensive, maybe we do concrete, whatever. And honestly, I put that in because it was in the architect's drawing. I don't really have a technical understanding.
I was super curious when I saw it, and I was like, it's going to be interesting, so.
Well, what I understand is it is less disruption to the soil.
Yes.
So we're working with the Conservation Commission to that whole stretch of marsh that we have access to with the woman who owns that space out there to do some cleaning up, and so we're just trying to pay attention to that. And if that sounded good to me, less disturbing.
Sounds good. So
It's a quick turnaround too. It was like a 2-week turnaround on helical piles.
All right.
Anything else from the board, audience, anyone?
Good.
Go ahead.
Dana Jr., 26 Idaho Street, so I'm Peter's neighbor.
Right.
And I would speak in favor of it. I think he's done a great job with the property, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to extend it. So I'd be in favor of it to support him.
Okay, thank you. So I'll move that we close 22-125 10 Idaho Street. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover Hensey, aye.
Want to read it again?
I just don't have anything to look at.
Oh.
Yeah,
Other than that.
All right.
Sure, I guess I'm-
Peter, who am I on right now? Okay, so I move that the board vote to grant petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to conditions. This will require a building permit, final as-built elevation certificate, and not certificate of occupancy. Also, everyone's in agreement with numbers 1 through 10 of the standard.
Yes.
Yes, and I don't see anything else I need on that.
And then this one's-
So, with those conditions, to construct a 12-foot by 15-foot 8 one-story addition on helical piles on the property located at 10 Idaho Street, as shown on site plan dated. Andrew, you got the corner there?
10/17/22.
It's a special permit, it's not a variance, right?
Did I say variance?
No.
It's the application.
Yeah, petition was for a variance.
It was advertised as a special permit.
Okay, well, all right. Just want to make sure we're covered.
What's the date on the plan, Andrew?
10/17/22.
So 10/17, site plan dated 10/17/22, in the R3 zoning district, based on the finding the applicant has demonstrated that they meet all of the requirements of section 1012 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover?
Grover Hensey, aye.
All right, thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
22-126, Peter Dion. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 12-foot by 12-foot half-story addition on an existing 2-story dwelling on a property located at Kent Avenue, 54 Kent Avenue, just further identified on the assessor's maps as being parcel K11-2710, located in the R3 zoning district. Name and address for the record.
Scott Murphy, 36 Bradford Street, representing Peter Dion, me and Dion.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're just looking to put a 12 by 12 addition on top of the house to access a deck coming off the second story, the sunroom. That's about it.
Okay.
I haven't done the second story yet. I've done the first story, the second story. I already got the special permit for it, but I haven't got the permit applications in, but now he wants I don't see it on this picture, he wants a third 12 by 12 addition. Can you drop the plan, Andrew?
This is it here.
That's it.
Scott, the second floor, right, with the,
Oh, third? No, it's not. Nope, there's supposed to be an addition on the top of that house. I gave you the
this
plan.
is as high as they can go. They can't go any higher than that.
Well, what's in front of us is that,
Andrew, is that the plan from the first one?
No, that's not the plan.
This is the plan that's
No,
in
this
the,
is faces the
in the file.
I'm the neighbor.
You will?
Oh, maybe not. Hang on a sec.
There it is. The entrance to the deck on the third floor, that's all I'm asking
That's
for.
it, yeah.
Oh, right.
Okay.
So the second part, the second level's already been approved. So he just wants an entrance to get on the roof of the,
and that's the 12 by 12
that's a 12 by 12 addition.
half-story addition?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's only an access to the deck that's already been approved.
This house is a winding stairwell.
That's what I'm putting in.
There's
That's what I'm
no-
asking to put in.
There's no change to the footprint of the dwelling.
There's no change to the footprint at all. It's just adding more square footage, that's why I was told I have to present it to you.
So any questions from the board or? And,
I have no questions.
Anything from Andrew? Nothing? Ma'am? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm next door neighbor, so my question is, could you explain the special permit around this structure? I don't understand first, what's the special permit?
What's being permitted?
Yeah, what's asking for?
What are they asking for?
Okay. Understand it.
Okay.
Want me to get up and point that out to you?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, I see
This is
what
pretty
you're
much what-
adding. And
wanna
is
put it
that
back.
under the special permit?
Yes.
Okay, so you're adding a third floor.
Not necessarily, I'm adding
Well, a
a
third,
half-story.
What's your name and, name and address for the record, please?
I'm sorry?
Name and address for the record.
What's your name and address?
I need-
I'm here on 244 Kent Ave.
Okay, thank you.
This is what he's proposing right in here.
So that, yes, that's a whole,
This is already.
That's already,
yeah, so that's the third, half-third, if you want to call it.
You could
And
call it a
go
third
way
floor.
above even the pit, the high pitch of the main house.
it's going 30 inches higher than the main house, and the main house is 27 feet high now.
Andrew, is there any concern with the height requirement?
Where'd it go?
You're muted.
You're muted.
The lowest floor has to be more than 50% of it has to be covered completely, you know, it has to be underground, basically. Either more, you know, half of the entire basement is underground, or half of it is exposed and the other half is completely filled up to the top. So we're going by kind of an architectural drawing here, but we don't have any, you know, with the actual topography, it's showing 18 feet here, 14 feet here, so it's only like a 4-foot drop from one side to the
Right.
other. So I don't know that you have that full 6-foot, 7-foot drop that it's showing here on the architectural rendering, so
You don't have that, that goes out straight to a retaining wall.
Right, so that would be my only concern, is them showing that we have the correct coverage around the lowest floor to make sure that that's not a basement and it's not considered a story. Otherwise, this would be considered a story. You would have 1, 2, and 3 stories, and then you'd be adding another one. So you just have to give me some sort of documentation proving that this is covered more than 50% by the earth, that it's not a story. And then you would have 1, 2,
All
and
the way out to here. There's a retaining wall comes from here straight out. So that the grade goes straight across the front. It only drops down in the back.
Did you
So
read
that
the
drawing-
drawing?
Just to explain it to you.
That part wasn't accurate in that drawing.
That drawing's not accurate, and the
Architectural
the
rendering.
guy just drew that in the picture to make it look pretty, but
But did you hear
it's
the
not
comments
right.
of the building commissioner of what's required?
Maybe you better say it again.
I think he did, because if you go from the corner, if he's saying the retaining walls come out to the corner of the property, that means everything else is on the ground. So the
Underground.
percentages.
You just need to verify the 50% coverage, Andrew.
Coverage.
that's correct.
Up to 6 feet in depth, right?
We need to verify it, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, I was, did I hear it correctly, if the basement is fully inhabited? It's not a
No,
story?
it's elevation.
Oh, okay. It's not elevated, it's...
No, it's the elevation of the dirt surrounding the property
Oh.
dictates whether or not it's considered a story.
That would consider, from that, the height?
If it needs to have 50% coverage.
So
Okay?
that's not clear at
In this
point.
picture, it's not clear.
It's not, that would be a condition of our agreement, if we agree with it. Lynn?
Lynn Fiddler, 77 Brook Road. That conversation answered my
Oh,
question.
okay, your question, okay. All right. Anything else from anyone? Seeing that there's none,
Why is this?
I move to close 22-126 Peter Dion, 54 Kent Ave. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Cohen, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Heidi Conway, aye.
All right, so now I'd move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to conditions. So Andrew says we don't need a certificate of occupancy, we just need a,
Well,
No.
So they need, the special permit they got for the first edition required a certificate of occupancy to close it out. Now, they've done with construction, they're ready to close that out, but now they want to do this project, which would also require a certificate of occupancy. So what I'm asking is that the ZBA in this condition of this special permit would say that this certificate of occupancy would cover both this special permit and the previous special permit, so they don't have to go and get 2 certificates of occupancy. They can use one at the culmination of both of these projects that will cover both special permits.
okay.
Thank
And we want a certified plot plan, right?
They didn't make, that was a condition of the original special permit.
Okay.
They hadn't, they didn't.
Make any changes?
They didn't make any, alterations beyond what's shown on this plan in front of us. There's still an existing 3-season room, there's still an existing deck. I'm right, Scott?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we won't need the site plan?
They're just gonna clarify the rendering.
Well, I have one that hasn't changed, is what he's saying.
Yeah, I believe the current site plan is reflective of the conditions after this work will be done.
Okay, so I'm just gonna add the condition that, you handle that on your end, right, Andrew, with the 50%?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware.
Understood that you're gonna do that, okay. All right, so do we all agree with numbers 1 through 10 in our illustrious 305, 10, 12?
I do.
And can I just get the number, the date on that plan, Andrew? So after the conditions we added, this is to construct a 12 by 12 half-story addition on the existing 2-story dwelling, property located at 54 Kent Ave, is shown as the color on the color design plans of Duxboro Design dated 10/19/22, 6 pages including floor plans, layout, elevation, plans by Duxboro Construction dated 11/30/22, and site plan dated, Andrew, you got the date on the site plan?
It didn't have a date on it.
All right, on the site plan included with the application, and is located in the R3 zoning district. Based on the finding, the applicants have demonstrated that they met all of the requirements of section 1012 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Cole, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Heidi Conway, aye.
Gore has a
Thank you.
All set? Thank you, guys.
So waiting.
Merry Christmas.
All right, so now we have 22-127 Paul Sargastano, Dish Wireless. The petitioner is seeking a site plan approval
They
in
here?
accordance with 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to add 3 proposed antennas, install 3 antenna sector frames, install proposed jumpers, install 6 proposed PRUs, and install 1 proposed hybrid cable on the property located off Ames Way, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being F150104 and is located in the R1 zoning district.
For Paul Sagristano.
All right, so I'm Paul Sagristano here for Dish Wireless. I reside at 21 Lime Street, Old Lyme, Connecticut.
Paul, do you want to show this to us tonight? Because you're going to need to apply for a special permit as well
On
as...
an existing tower? Wasn't what we were told, okay?
Well, that's up to the board to decide, so. Whenever
Okay,
you
well,
bought up,
basically, Dish is looking to go onto the tower at 165 foot level. They're looking to put their equipment on steel, a 5 by 7 foot pad. They're looking to do 3 antennas, and as you can see from that, the antennas are basic, almost flush mounted. They've got a small stand on. And each antenna would have 2 remote radio units behind them.
Brian, I don't have any problem with giving him the relief that he's looking for, but he needs to, he's got a special permit. He's looking to amend his special permit. He's gonna go through the special permit process.
Right.
I don't think
yeah,
can
you
give
can
him-
proceed and give him site plan approval, but it won't be enough for him to put the antenna up, because he still needs the permit under section 1112D2. Whenever you
Paul,
add cells.
Are you hearing this?
I am hearing that. Okay, I'm sorry, that is not what we were told, so.
So why don't I just...
Make that application.
Nancy, how long will we need for him to get that in?
I mean, you could grant him the site plan approval if you want tonight. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Might
He's
as well
still,
do both at once.
I mean, it might be easier if you grant him the relief, he knows that, you're likely to give him the special permit. I mean, it'd probably take you 5 minutes to deal with the special permit on another night.
I don't know.
The next meeting's January 10th, and the deadline was today. I can get it
Here,
in.
can you tell me where again in the communications and wireless communication facilities part, it says about the special permit?
Section 305, 1112D2. We'll put it up on the screen.
I mean, towers subject to protection under the Indian Coastal. Okay.
Look at the last sentence. The addition is...
I must have something different from you guys. Okay, this is under special permit. 305-1112.
Brian, that's pretty consistent with what we've done with the other.
Absolutely.
That's correct. So we might as well stay consistent.
Can Can I jump in? I would need his information, just the application for the special permit by 10 o'clock tomorrow, because there's an early deadline with the newspapers for the next.
Paul, can you do that?
I'm sorry, I did not hear what was just said.
Close to your microphone.
We need your application for the special permit by 10 o'clock tomorrow. In order to get on the January
14th.
meeting,
Yeah, January 10th.
January 10th meeting.
Okay. I can certainly try to do that.
This goes to the next one.
Just the
Where do I
application.
find the special permit application?
I will send it to you tonight.
We can email that to you tonight.
Okay, yeah, if I get it tonight, I should be able to do it by 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay.
So do you want to do the site plan and then do that when he comes back quicker?
What do you think?
Well, just, we seem to be bottling up a lot of meetings in one night, so we might as well just get through what we have. It's just.
Yeah, do the site plan tonight.
Yeah, just do it.
All right, Paul, we'll finish your site plan approval tonight, but you won't be able to get your full permit until January, okay?
Okay, that's great.
If approved.
Per Heidi.
Just saying.
So we've seen your, you've explained most of this to us, that you've explained in the thing. Sorry if I interrupted. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I mean, this is, the smallest and least intrusive installation on that tower.
We understand.
Most of these are considerably larger installations.
So nothing else? Just go.
Nope.
Yeah, I really don't have anything else to add to that. I mean, it's just a
Do we have any?
co-location on a tower. And, Dish is trying to do this. They've got an FCC license, and they are, required to do a certain amount of build out in a certain amount of time, or they will pay fine.
All right, do we have anything further from the board?
I'm good.
Anything from the audience? Andrew, have anything to add?
No.
Okay. So I move that we close 22-127 Paul Sagastano, Dish Wireless.
Yeah.
Okay, a Dish Wireless off Ames Way. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Cohen, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Sleeping here.
Scorpions, yeah.
And I move that the board approve the site plan approval.
Second?
And Andrea, you want to throw up the stuff we're agreeing to in the site plan approval?
Also standard conditions.
Yes, standard conditions. Does everyone agree with the site plan approval, numbers 1 through 10?
I do.
I do.
I do.
All right,
Do.
so all those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Cohen, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover?
Scorpions, yeah.
All right, thank you. So what do we have left, Nancy? Just the continued?
20 Dog Lane,
The only people standing here?
just,
Thank you all.
minutes.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Is 20 Dog Lane it?
It looks like it.
All right.
No one else standing there.
I don't have to read this in because it's a continued meeting. 22-110 Elizabeth Barrett, trustee, 20 Dog Lane.
Oh.
Come on up and let's hear what you got.
Oh.
Hi, my name is Dana Jr., and I'm here seeking a variance on a Form A lot that was created earlier this year by way of a plan approved by the planning board. I met with the building inspector, and I have
You can leave if you want, then. This is it, right?
Yeah.
done a survey on the lot, and the lot has a wetlands piece on the lot. It's a through lot. It's 1.75 acres, so it's oversized. It's a through lot from Pleasant Street, which has about 535 feet of frontage along Pleasant. And it's through to Dog Lane, which it has under about 77 feet of, and it's gonna have more than that. That's just one of the bearings on it. It has a little under 100 feet of frontage on Dog Lane. So 77 plus 12.17. So it's about 90 feet of frontage, more or less, on Dog Lane. So there's an intermittent stream that runs more or less parallel to Pleasant Street, which is on the lower side of the lot. Right there, yep. From the stream towards Dog Lane is a significant grade, which is within 100 feet of the wetlands, from the stream towards Dog Lane. This conforming lot, I could build a house on that slope, which would be within 100 feet of the wetlands, and I have a notice of intent application before the Conservation Commission right now that is continued. It's been continued a few times, but I've been through all their meetings and they don't see any problems with it, and I conform to all their regulations between the state and the local. However, the house footprint is within 100 feet, and it is on that slope, and it is a sensitive slope. The house would also be somewhat behind number 36 Dog Lane. So what I'm here before you tonight is to see if I can move the house footprint up off of the slope onto the flatter portion of the lot, which is towards Dog Lane. It would conform to all of the required setbacks still, 20 feet on the sides, 40 feet in the front, and 40 feet in the rear. However, in this flat portion of the lot, which is outside of 100 feet from the wetlands, the lot narrows down to about 97 feet wide at the rear building line, measured parallel to the frontage, which is Pleasant Street, not Dog Lane. The only reason we have a Dog Lane address is for the 911 emergency adherence, because my driveway is going to be off of Dog Lane. So that's why we have a Dog Lane address, although the official frontage is on Pleasant Street. Okay? So, so I've shown the buildable circle, and I've shown the lot depth at 306 feet, as you can see right about in the middle of the circle. So the lot conforms in every way. However, because I want to place the house up on the flat portion of the lot, which would be outside of 100 feet from the wetlands, off of the slope, and more next to number 36 Dog Lane instead of somewhat behind 36 Dog Lane, if I want to put it in this position, that's what triggers the need for a variance on lot width and lot width only. I think it would be more in keeping with the character of the neighborhood by placing the house in this position versus further back behind number 36 and on the slope. I think it would be better for the public safety because we wouldn't then be on the slope with an inhabited house, having to mow the lawn around it and all. So I think there's a couple of merits to it. Now, I know I have to have a unique topography and shape of the lot and soil conditions, and I believe I adhere to all those three things. Certainly, the topography of the lot is significant, and it is unique. It goes from about an elevation of about 90 or 88, where the house is being proposed, all the way down to about 50 or even 44 where the wetlands is. And that is a consistently steep slope all the way down. So I'd rather not build on that slope. I'd rather build up on top of it, again, in the more flat portion of the lot. Certainly we have a unique shape to the lot.
What is the pitch on that slope, do you think, would you estimate?
In about 100 feet, you're going down about 20 feet, so yeah, 20 and 100. It's 20%. It's a lot. No. So we have a unique topography, we have a unique shape, certainly, and I think unique soil conditions as well, with the not only wetlands at the bottom of the slope, but an intermittent stream at the bottom of the slope. It's labeled drainage easement on this here, as well as an intermittent stream. So I think I check all the boxes as far as what you could approve, if you see fit. And again, I think this is a better location on the lot for the public safety and as well as in keeping with the character of the neighborhood.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, you created this law, right?
I did.
Okay. So, in order to be eligible for the granting of the variance, you need to show a hardship. And the hardship can't be of your own creation. So if you created the lot, how did you not create the hardship?
Because I created the lot in adherence with the zoning bylaws.
Well, no, you're seeking a variance from the bylaw.
I can build the house on the slope.
Then you don't need a variance.
That is correct.
So then why are we here?
Because it would be better for the public safety and in keeping with the character of the neighborhood if you do grant the variance. That's why.
You do not, in my opinion, you do not meet the standard for the granting of a variance. You created the lot, you created your own presumed hardship. You can build the lot, you can build the house. First of all, when you had the house, when you had the entire parcel, you could have shifted the house over and solved the problem. You chose not to do that. You chose to create a dimensionally conforming lot that fit the requirements of the bylaw, but now you don't want to put a house where zoning says you need to put the house. The whole point of having zoning bylaws is so that people are in conformity with them.
Right.
But you're saying, I created this lot, now I don't want to comply with the dimensional requirements of the bylaw for the lot that you just created.
That is correct.
And again, so there's no point of, in my opinion, there's no point of having bylaws if you can seek variances willingly when you create the problem from which you now seek the variance. So again, you created the problem. I don't see, you can put the house on the lot dimensionally, you just don't want to comply with the law. So I don't see that you meet the standard.
No, and to put a finer point on it, to disagree with you, I don't think that Mr. Junior created a hardship. What he did was he created a lot that happens predetermined, has a wetland on the Pleasant Street frontage. So whether or not the lot that he created, that wetland is there, and that's the hardship.
Well, the hardship
That's not
is-
something it's not something that Mr. Junior created. The wetland was there pre-existing.
Are you Attorney Creed?
I'm Attorney Creed.
Okay, Attorney Creed, the wetland exists.
That's correct.
That has not moved.
As well as
But
the house existed.
The
too.
house could have shifted. When you own the entire...
I'm sorry, but what house would have shifted? The existing house?
The
Are you
house-
talking about moving the house at 36 somewhere?
Yes, that could have shifted to the left, and then you'd have the room dimensionally.
You're
There's
talking
that
about
room-
picking up the house at 36 and shifting it over.
Absolutely.
However, there's...
And then you could have two conforming lots, they'd meet all the different standards that are being articulated by your client. That
However-
he was looking for.
I respectfully disagree again, because there's a septic system on the, to the left of number 36 Dog Lane, and that septic system has to be 100 feet away from the wetlands. So there's one place for the septic system, and the house cannot be closer to the septic system. So I couldn't have moved it.
Yeah,
I would
if
have had to
if we
chop off
if
part
we
of the
had a better
house.
plan, there's plenty of room. The septic system was pre-existing, I assume, or was it upgraded?
It was upgraded.
Yeah, so again, there was the opportunity to locate the house, two houses, and two conforming lots.
If I moved...
And I don't see that you meet the standard under 40A Section 10.
So you're contending that I should have moved number 36 in
You know,
order
you
to
could
do
have. I'm
this.
not saying that you should do anything. You could have done that. Instead, you created your own hardship. Because you can still put a house on this lot.
I can.
You just don't want to follow the zoning bylaw. You want a variance from the zoning bylaw.
Right. I just don't think it makes sense to put that house behind number 36 on the slope, closer to the wetlands, for the sake of the rules. But if you disagree, then you disagree. You have the vote, not me.
Do you understand what he's saying, though? I mean, if you go up there, he
100%.
could, what, if I hear you correctly, you could put a house right there in that yellow circle right now, currently, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So
So you can do
basically,
that
your
with the
construction circle is not gonna fit up where you wanna put the house. That's where your problem is.
Correct.
Basically, the construction circle.
Which is aligned
Okay.
with lot width, yeah.
Yeah, again, I drove up here, I went to this property. Where you're proposing to put this is gonna be more uniform with the neighbors.
That is correct.
So essentially, what is gonna end up there, if he puts one down the hill, it's gonna be a lot better for the community and the neighbors moving up the hill. Right now, those people that are on either side of that are gonna step out in their backyards, and they're gonna be looking at a house in their backyard. If he moves it forward, and he's still gonna be in compliance with all his setbacks, correct?
Correct.
You're gonna be in compliance with all your setbacks and your frontage, but now those houses are gonna be aesthetically, if you will, placed like this. So each neighbor is gonna look out at the woods still.
That's the zoning bylaw. That's
I
what we're here
understand that, but-
to apply.
But, again, are we benefiting the town in doing
In
that?
applying the zoning bylaw, I believe absolutely.
And you're gonna have a house that's gonna be on a ski slope. You think that's benefiting the town?
Yes.
You go up to Adeline Way, have you gone up there? Those houses have a backyard like that.
I don't know that specific street off the
Okay.
top of my head. I may have been on that street
Did you
before.
go-
but
did you
I-
go and
I-
view
I
this?
drove all around this street, yes.
Yeah.
Dog Lane, Pleasant Street.
And you think with it, where he's allowed to put that house is the best location for that?
Personally, I would have shifted that existing house over. That's what I would have done. But it's not my call. It's not my land. It's not my lot.
I just, in this type of circumstances, I don't see who we're benefiting at all
but
here.
he has-
I don't see.
If we apply the law, we
We're
can't say,
here to
well, you know
make
what? At the end of
exceptions.
the
We're
day,
here to
this is-
make exceptions and give people relief from the laws. That's what he's here for. And
I
he-
believe we're here to apply the law to the application.
It's a zoning board of appeals. We're here to
Yes.
give relief when able. And this is a scenario that I think, and he's meeting, he's got all the frontage. He's got the setbacks. He's far enough from all the neighbors. He's moving away from the wetlands. He's moving away from it.
Larry, I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree that aesthetically it would look better for the neighborhood if the lot were closer to the street. I understand your point. However, how do you get past the question, is this supposed hardship of the applicant's own, not of the applicant's own creation? I don't think that you can.
I absolutely can,
100%
because
is. He created the lot, and now he seeks a variance from the rules that are imposed by the lot that he created.
May I?
Hold on. Bob, do you have any thing to add to what we're discussing here?
The law complies with zoning. I think they can build it just the way they've proposed it. They'll get their order of conditions. I think, personally, Brian's right. I think this is a circumstance that they don't need any relief, but he's asking for relief anyways. And, variances, and I happen to disagree with Larry, variance is supposed to be granted in rare and unusual cases, and a self-created hardship is not a hardship that you're allowed to base a variance on. So.
And what we're looking at here
With this
is,
variance stuff going on, we routinely give variances. I'll just throw it out there as a dock.
Well,
Where's the hardship to give a variance on a dock?
If
And we
you're
give it.
asking the lawyers about variances, variances are supposed to be granted in rare and unusual cases, sparingly,
Mhm.
okay? And regardless of how you've done it in the past, if you read the memos that I produce every week.
Every week,
Okay.
every week.
That's the standard, and it's a very exacting standard.
Well, I think
But that's an easy
I think
answer to
we're
Larry's
we're
question.
punishing
That
the town
dog
for
hole
this.
thing started because, name any other town that does that.
Which one?
The dock, needing the variance past the dock. How many towns give a variance to that, or just accept the fact that you're going onto the water?
I'm sorry, did I miss something? What are we
I'm
talking?
just saying that Larry's using the example of the docks for variances. We were forced to do that, because how
You
many?
can't
other-
have a dock unless you can get to navigable waterways.
Correct, but how many of the towns enforce something like that?
Many towns.
Can you name any?
Wareham.
Where's the hardship with that?
got
Someone
one
bought
right
a
now.
house that didn't have a dock. We're giving them a variance
There's no-
to get a dock.
We
Where's
never
their
used to
hardship?
we never used to do variances for the
Yeah.
dock.
And something
Look
like
at
this,
how-
we're punishing.
It's not my decision.
I
You
know
guys
it's not
make the
your
call.
decision.
You
No.
guys make the call. Whatever
But
you
I mean,
want to do
we're
is
punishing the
fine.
community. If I owned 36 Dog Lane, or I lived on the other side of that, I would want that house moved forward. I wouldn't want to go out on my back deck and be looking at him.
I mean,
It's not realistic. We're here to give relief. And something like that, it's gonna be much nicer for the neighborhood. As far as aesthetics goes, there's absolutely no question. And if you go to this lot, it's like a ski slope back there. Well, I don't think we're doing anybody any justice saying that this landowner can't move his house forward. And especially, I'd have an issue with it if he didn't have the frontage, if he didn't have the side setbacks. I'd have an issue with it. He has all that. He has it all. But we just want to hold his feet to the fire and say, you created it. I don't care if it's detrimental to the neighborhood, we're going to hold your feet to the fire. That's not what we're here for. We're the zoning board of appeals. We're here to give relief when able. I think we're able.
So the relief you're looking for is, and I think in our town we connected to, is you either have to have, I mean, you have to have both, the circle and the setbacks, correct?
Which are within one definition, yes.
Right.
So I'm looking for relief from the definition of.
So you can meet the definition of the setbacks. You can't meet the definition of the circle.
Right, and the circle is within the same definition as lot width.
Right.
So lot width and circle, yes, because those are together in the definitions. They're not
You're
separately
gonna put up there
defined.
the relief we're looking for, Andrew?
May I speak to the point of creating my own hardship?
Please do.
Sure.
Number one, I did not create the entire, when the two lots were together, I did not create that shape. I did not place the stream or the wetlands where they are. I didn't make the topography. I didn't build a hill. I didn't cut a hill. I took those existing conditions as well as the existing placement of number 36 Dog Lane. With all those existing conditions, I applied the existing rules and came out with that lot. There's pretty close to only one answer to get that lot to be conforming, and that was the answer. Using the existing things, parameters that I did not create. That's why I say I did not create my own hardship. I didn't build number 36 Dog Lane. It's been there since the 50s. I didn't create the overall shape of the lot. I didn't create the topography. I didn't put the wetlands there. I didn't build a pond. I didn't build the stream. I didn't put the roads where they are. I didn't even make the rules.
The question is, did you create the lot? That's a yes or no question, and you did. And now you seek that lot that you created, you are now seeking a variance from the Marshfield zoning bylaw, rules and regulations.
If I didn't have to adhere to the rules to create the lot, I wouldn't need lot width variance.
Of course.
I could just make a 2-foot setback from 36 Dog Lane and get my lot width just about. I could have done other things, but because of the rules and the way they're written, and I have to adhere to them, that's the shape that I came out with. Now, there's no rule that says, hey, if you want to do this, you have to pick up an existing house and move it in order to get a subsequent lot with adherence. There's no rule that says that. So I don't have to do that. No different than you don't have to give the variance. The reason I'm here asking for a variance is because, in my opinion certainly, and I hope you would agree, at least 4 out of 5 of you, is because the end result will be better for the public. I'm going to build it either way. But come on, that does not make sense to build it on that slope behind 2 other houses for the sake of the rules. That's why we have a variance process, so that you can decide what makes sense and what doesn't. And if it doesn't make sense to you, well then vote no, that's fine. But the reason I'm here and the reason I'm going through the expense and the time to do this is not to line my pockets full of more gold. I'm going to get what I'm going to get anyway. But it does not make sense to me. And if you disagree, then vote no. But that's a hard... You have one argument to vote against this, and that is simply it doesn't follow our rules. Well, that's exactly why I'm here, and I've applied for a variance. If there was no process for a variance, everyone would just conform to the rules, and your board doesn't exist. We don't need you. The public needs you to make sense out of the rules, and that's what I'm asking you to do.
There's another tenet to the variance experience and the variance decision, and that's that it's accepted that what the applicant is seeking is not allowed under the bylaw. But that's an accepted part of seeking a variance. So to simply apply the bylaw and say you don't comply with the bylaw, therefore we deny you, you would never grant a variance. And in this particular case, to say that Mr. Junior created his own hardship, you almost have to say that, assume that the house at 36 can be moved. Now, Mr. Junior reviewed all that, and this was what he came up with as zoning compliance for both of those lots.
Are you saying that that house could not be moved? Houses all over
I'm saying certainly you can move a house. You can hire somebody to move a house.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, can you move a house, an existing house, given the parameters of the lot? So for you to presume tonight that 36 could have been moved means that you would also have to move or relocate the septic system. Or by moving the house, would have to accept that the septic system would also be in compliance with all the rules and regulations.
Absolutely.
There's no factual basis for any of that. Now, Mr. Junior looked at that, and this is what he came up with. But part of what your premise is that you could have moved that house. Well, there's no basis for that. You have no factual basis for that, I presume.
I mean, I've not done soil testing on the lot.
Right, and you don't know where the septic system is and whether or not the resulting moving of the house would also comply with zoning.
Your client just said. I know what your client said, and I'm going to take him at his word that that's where the septic system is. So could the septic system be moved 5 feet to the left, 5 feet to the right? I have no idea. I don't know what the soil conditions are, but I take you at your word that the septic system has to be where it is, and the house could not be moved. I understand what you're saying. I think if, given the totality of the circumstances, if somebody wanted to move that house, they could find a way to squeeze in the septic system, dimensionally, with all the land, find a way to squeeze in the septic system and the house and get 2 dimensionally conforming lots that would be more attractive than what's currently being proposed, that would be conforming, versus what you can do with a variance. I think that getting the variance is picking the low-hanging fruit. It's the cheapest alternative. That's my guess, based on everything that I've seen.
Given the wetland setbacks, I think that would be very difficult to do this any other way than the way it was done.
That could be, I don't know.
And again, to build the house on the slope and in the wetlands, I mean, that, if you deny this, that's on you folks, as opposed
Everything
to...
we're talking now, moving a house, moving a septic, that's all in the past. That's gone. That's not even an opportunity. We're dealing with what we have here. what we have here, if anybody can show me how this would, putting the house in that yellow circle is gonna benefit this community, those neighbors, I'd like to hear it. Because moving it forward is gonna be an absolute benefit to those neighbors. The house is gonna be there, I think that's clear.
Do you have anything
He's not
from the
going away.
neighbors? Do they know? They obviously know, right?
Yeah, I've talked to certainly the downhill neighbor, his name's Chris Roberts, I think he might be on here, and I had proposed to him at one point to buy, there's a small sliver of land to the right side of my proposed house.
Are those two people your neighbors?
Chris Roberts is, maybe Shannon Fullerton, I forget her name, I think that might be her. So, in any case, I had proposed to him to buy a sliver of land from him, and he didn't want to do that.
Chris, could we hear from you what your thoughts are on this?
Certainly. Yeah, I mean, as Junior just said, Dan Junior just said, he did approach me about a land swap back in January. I just wasn't interested because it's one of my favorite sections of the property that I own. Yeah, so I just didn't want to do that. So that's where we sit, I keep hearing, being repeated by the applicant that, he's not going away, the house is going in one way or another, but, my understanding from attending all the conservation meetings is that the reason that it's been continued and hasn't been resolved is because of the applicant, not because of Conservation Commission. There's been nothing resolved there, so there's, as far as I know, there's nothing to say that he can build within that yellow circle at this point. So, unless I missed something in a meeting, but that's never been made clear that that's what's going to happen. I think that, I think the direction probably was to go to zoning to see what he could get from you folks before he pushed it even further with conservation. That's just my own guess.
So are you for or against this project?
I'm for anybody doing anything they want with their property so long as they do it within the letter of the law. That's kind of where I stand on that stuff. I don't like anybody telling me what to do, but I play by the rules, and I just expect everybody else to play by the rules. And these are bylaws; they're not by suggestions. This is the law that the town wants, and that's how I look at it. I'm pretty black and white.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is it Shannon? Are you on here for this meeting?
Hi there, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can we get your name and address for the record?
Sure, Shannon Fullerton, and I purchased 36 Dog Lane from Dana Jr.
Okay.
So I guess my major issue with it is that, when I purchased this property, I knew that he was planning to build another home on the, lot that's now 20 Dog Lane. And we both signed off with our attorneys that he was going to build in the yellow circle behind me, and that the house would not be right next to me.
I never
So-
signed anything like that. I
Yeah,
never even knew
we
of
both
anything.
had to sign, we both signed it at the closing. You showed
I-
me a plot plan, and I signed even a revised version of it that you sent over. So everybody's signature is on it. The yellow circle is there, and his plan was to build behind. And then when I met him here at the house a few weeks after I moved in, he, approached me and said he thought maybe he would build right next to me. So basically, I only have 20 feet to the side of my house, and his plan is to put that house another, the edge of it another 20 feet from there. So directly, 40 feet from my bedroom is going to be this new house rather than behind me where I really wouldn't, the way the lot is, I really wouldn't see much of it if it was where he was originally going to build it.
So do you have that document, or?
Yeah, it's in all my closing papers, sure. I'm happy to bring it in.
That's between the two of them.
Might I add, I never went to the closing because I have a trustee, and I met her one time after the closing. That's why I didn't remember her name. I never went to the closing, so I couldn't have signed those things.
Were they correct as far as the conservation? Are you through conservation yet, or is that still ongoing?
I was continued at conservation because they want to see if you're gonna, if by chance you approve, then I don't need approval from them.
Their relief.
And they would want me to just withdraw.
Nancy, have we got anything from
So they don't
conservation on
wanna-
this?
No, I think it's up to the cracks with Michael taking over and Bill leaving.
I mean, that's a logical thing for the commission to do. I mean, they're usually they're supposed to be by statute and regulation, the last permitting authority. And obviously, if you granted them a variance, then they don't have to deal with where Dana wants to build the house in the circle. We do prohibit new construction inside, I think it's 75 feet. So, I mean, looking at it strictly from a conservation perspective, they're gonna not want them to be there.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I thought the thing I saw was just, it was at the very tip of the circle he could build it.
Didn't you say
Andrew,
you had
just have
100%?
another plan up there?
This is 75 foot, yes, well,
Where's,
I have one here.
where's Mr. Roberts' house in relation to this drawing?
It's north of where it says Lot 2, almost directly north.
Can we see, Andrew, that plan you had up there with the colors on it? That one. So,
This is Bill Grafton's plan.
right, so the 20, we don't see if, I think one of the things we'd need to see is the setbacks on that plan that show where a house can go.
That's
Because
on,
it can't go in that that circle. If, where are the 20-foot setbacks, and then how big a house can you put in there?
so that's shown on the, I think.
I know, but they're not on one plan.
They are.
I-
We have a plan.
You
that-
show a plan that shows the building area of that circle.
This one right here.
Is it, does Andrew have it?
Yes.
Andrew, can you show us the building area of the circle? Because I haven't seen it.
The building area of the
So
circle.
in that circle, where are you allowed to put a house?
So a house, a footprint within
We
the
haven't
circle.
seen that. You have those 20-foot setbacks right there.
Okay.
Then you have a 40-foot setback, but then you have a 100-foot wetland setback right there, which for me,
And I don't show the
I was looking at
75
that
on it.
little piece of pie in the middle is the only place you can build. But is it a 75-foot, Bob? He
It's
can,
a 75 foot no build. So,
New construction, 75 feet.
so what I'm looking for is where is,
Exact placement.
that
of the
circle is not what you can build in.
correct. It's
Why
a
don't,
circle.
what you don't have on
plus-
there, it isn't the circle. You can't build within 75 feet.
Correct.
So when you cut out 75 feet of that circle.
Right.
And you take 20 feet from each side, what is left?
Right.
I mean, that's what I'd like to see.
Okay.
Because the question is, this, if I'm not wrong, is the circle.
Where you take 75 feet from which end?
The 75
Where the
feet
wetlands
is,
are?
yeah, see that 100-foot setback line? So he can go 25 feet towards Pleasant Street from that line. And that's where the build-out ends.
Show different plans on each of these plans. So I don't have the conservation plan here. Do you have the conservation?
I mean, to me, it would be beneficial for you to
It's kind of
show.
like, if I can draw it real quick, I'll kind of show you,
Yeah,
based on what I can see.
It's about the 75 feet there, yeah.
but that's the area you can build in. Like, yeah, you came over too
Go
far.
back, yeah.
Yeah. Well, something close to that.
Essentially.
Right, it's close to that. There you go. Right there.
That's about it.
So it looks like doing that, the corner of Dog Lane, 36 Dog Lane, is gonna be the equivalent 40 feet again, because she's got 20 feet 1 inch right there, right? Another 20 feet, gonna be 40 feet again.
So
Correct?
that's the actual spot that you can build in.
Pretty close.
Close to it, yeah. That northern.
So Bob, if he comes out of that circle this way, would he need a variance for that as well?
Yeah, you have to put the house in the circle.
So I mean, if he had some of the house in the
He-
circle and some out,
If he stays in the circle, he's gonna have a smaller home.
all right. I mean, for me personally, I'd like a little more time with this, but I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I don't see how anything's gonna change. You know, number 3, unique conditions and circumstances are not the result of the actions of the applicant taken subsequent to the adoption of the bylaw. He doesn't meet that standard.
Well, Larry, are you ready to vote?
Followed the bylaw to get to this point.
No, you created this lot. Those are your actions.
I'm ready to vote. I know how I feel
you
about
ready
it.
to
Even
vote?
when the 36 Dog Lane, when they talked about it, 20 and 40, you're still gonna be 40 feet from the neighbor's house.
All right, Mark, are you ready to vote, and how do you feel?
Yeah, I'll vote on it.
Grover, how do you feel?
This is an interesting one. It's the same setback as is, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look
he,
at this.
He made the lot.
Right.
He made the lot, I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Brian, I just know that I had given something about the planning board.
Yeah, that's Greg's
That I
thing.
had sent, I think I sent it to Jay back in November.
Okay. Andrew, do we have the planning board note? Just for me, like, I can see that circle if the house was in part of that piece. I don't know, then you're looking for some different kind of a variant, but it's not even near it.
Each of your plans has one feature,
Right.
but not another.
Missed the 75 feet on that thing.
That's Greg's note? I know we have it.
Well, here's where I sit right now, Dana. You said you'd build it either place, it doesn't matter, you're gonna make your money, you're gonna do it.
Well, not that it
You're not gonna
doesn't
live
matter.
there.
Right.
The 2 abutting neighbors don't want it where you plan to put it. They want it in the circle.
They want it in that spot.
So that's what they want. So, I mean, it's,
My thought is, take this for what it's worth, is I don't believe that they think I'll get approval through conservation. So if I don't get it here, and I don't get it at conservation, they have no house, and I think that's what they're probably betting on, but I'm very, very confident I will get it through conservation, but they don't want to approve it unless we have an answer from you, so I'm
Stuck.
it's kind of like a kid saying, Dad, can I go to the dance? He says, ask your mother, and the mother says, ask your father. That's where I'm at.
Again, I'm looking into, there were 2 comments by the neighbors. One said playing within the rules, okay? And playing within the rules is the ZBA is part of it to give relief. That's how I would address his comment. As far as 36 Dog Lane goes, she bought the house. The builder was clear that his intentions were to put another house back there. Her comment was 20 and 20, she was 40 feet away from him. He's still gonna be 40 feet. So no matter how you chop it, and if it was me, if I lived at 36, I'd want that house forward towards the street. I wouldn't want to be looking at it. Right now, she looks out the backyard, looks at the deer and everything. It's a beautiful little view. Now she's going to be looking at a house. Moves forward, everybody's going to maintain their view, privacy, aesthetically for the rest of the community. And I value abutters' opinions very highly, I do. And I think those were the 2 comments they had. And I would have liked to have seen conservation first, but I get that too, that we're bouncing back and forth, and, you know, that's what we put applicants through sometimes, and this, to me, happens to be one of it.
Well, to me, it's like if you got approved by conservation, and some of that house was, like, you can clearly see that setback, that what you're limited to.
Where he's at.
If you came back to us and had some of that house in the circle, it's absolutely not even, it just touches the circle. So, I mean, if some of the house was in the circle, if there's some way to design that, and then some was sticking out, and that was the variance you were asking, the relief you were asking for, I don't know. I mean, I just am struggling with that, this whole bylaw with the circle and the setbacks. Personally, I
agree with that.
I would like more time to look at it, because I don't understand how you ask for the circle and the setbacks. So you're asking for both instead of, I know there's other towns that have a circle or the setbacks.
Yeah.
So Andrew put the language up there, I definitely took a look at it, but, it's in the definition where this exists that
So
I would like to
circle and
look.
setbacks are the hardship?
Right, that creates the hardship, but we don't have an either-or that you could say, well, I can make the circle here, but it makes more sense, I have my setbacks here. So I prove my circle, right, but then I don't build within the circle, I build within the setbacks. I'm just struggling with that language right now.
And again, moving it forward, he meets all his requirements. It's not like he doesn't have the frontage, doesn't have the setbacks. He has that.
I could twist the house so that the back right corner, or the right side of the house is right on the 20-foot setback. And that would make the garage, the back corner of the garage, somewhat in the circle, so I could have a portion inside the circle. I don't know what that does for the situation, but I could
I'm just
could
saying,
twist
for
it
me,
in the circle
we
some.
haven't, no one's proved the hardship yet, because we haven't proved that you can build in that circle. That's what I'm struggling with.
Right.
Like, if you came from conservation and said, okay, they said this is okay, then we have a little bit of a different scenario here. But we're looking at,
This
we're
right
looking
here.
at something that is not approved to build in. So we don't, you're asking us for relief from something we don't even know is buildable.
I would kind of agree with that.
And that's all I'm saying. I
a good way to
mean,
put
you
it.
said you're already in front of them. Why not get them to say, okay, this is, and then you can come to us and say, well, here, I can, here's the proof I can do this. Now I need relief because of this. I mean, I'm just struggling with someone asking for relief from something that we don't know exists.
That is a very good explanation.
And
as far
I,
as
when we're making a decision that impacts two neighbors that are not looking at this the way you are. So I would like to know what we're looking at.
Right, so I can go to I don't know what the next meeting date is for conservation, but I've continued, really, I wouldn't say at their request, obviously it's my request.
Well,
but
same with us. We continue
It's a
people
mutual
and
between
extend.
them and me. We're continuing to see what this board would say, obviously, because the decision of this board could really affect that decision, which I wouldn't need it.
Well,
but I
if
understand what you're saying,
that's
yeah.
all legal that you're saying, it won't. They'll say you can do this.
Right.
And then you can come back and say they agreed to this. But
Right.
right now, you're hypothetically speaking to us.
Mhm.
We don't have the facts that we need in front of us. And
Right.
that's just my opinion. That's why personally, I'm not ready to vote on this tonight.
Okay.
Then, would you be inclined to continue this and get
Sure.
that approval? Go forward and try to get that approval?
Sure. Yep.
If that's
And
what
I'll-
if that's what
But
the members need.
With that,
Nothing's gonna change.
with that, I end up going back to conservation, and they'll say, what did ZBA say? And now I can say something. Whereas before, they were in your position right now, they would say, well, why don't you go see what they say,
Well,
and let's
then
continue.
that's your
So now
call.
at least
If
I
you
can
want
go
us to
back
vote
to.
tonight, we can do that.
No, I'm
No,
not
what
in
he's
a
saying,
rush.
what he's saying is now he has something to go back to tell
Okay.
the Conservation
Right.
Commission.
Right.
That
Versus-
we were before you, and this is what
Yeah,
was
we want to
represented.
know
Right.
if it is what it is.
Right.
Yep. I mean, I just, this is gonna, one way or the other, if they say yes, then at least your neighbors know this is
What's
where it
happening,
is, and I don't know, maybe they'll think different. I don't know. I mean,
Right.
I think it's hard to say this
Well, if I
without-
was in a butter, I'd want to know that. If
I'd
you didn't
wanna-
have the ability of putting a house back there,
Right.
I just don't think it's our
Well-
due diligence not to have this done.
And that's fine. With that feedback, now I can go back to them and tell them that, and they'll probably make a decision one way or the other. But at least I can say something to them now versus, well, I haven't tried that avenue yet. I don't know. Now I can say something. So that's fine to continue.
All right. Nancy, when do you think you can come back? What's our next meeting? You have to be in by 10. Oh, no.
No,
that's-
no, no. Our
that's not
next
new.
meeting is December 27th.
You
But
think
I
you-
don't know when Concom's meeting is.
You think you can make that, or want to go for the one after?
Should go into January.
It's going to January.
The-
Make sure.
Christmas week is like terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no kidding. They'll all be Zooming. All right, so we'll move this,
It's
make
not
a,
terrible, it's the most wonderful time of the year, Bob, come on.
a work week. But, all right.
That's
so
why I'm having my office Christmas party that night.
14th?
Yeah, the 14th.
Do we get invites?
Yep.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we
The 14th or is it the 10th?
continue,
I haven't grasped the.
hold
Would that
on.
be Would that work?
Can I,
This work, this calendar.
Would that work
I
for
could
you guys?
I could potentially do this by Zoom because I don't think I'll be in town during January,
No, we need him
Zoom
to
in.
agree to that, because I don't
but-
know.
which is fine. yeah.
We need that time.
The 11th?
Where are skills?
11th? It's Tuesday.
So what's the second?
No, the
Tuesday in
11th is a
January?
Wednesday.
I think it's the 11th.
No, it's the
I think it's the
10th.
10th.
But would that give them time for conservation also?
Yeah, it should, I mean.
Should, but
When
yeah.
do you continue to it?
The
Conservation?
last meeting was the, oh jeez, when was it? Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, but when did they
We
continue
wanted
to?
it to
We will also need an
12/21.
extension.
Who, what?
We need
Need an
extension for
extension.
time.
Make an email. Or tonight or tomorrow.
Just an email?
I'll email you an agreement,
I
you can
I
sign it.
believe my next meeting with Conservation is potentially on the 21st. It's coming up. It's next week.
Okay, so we'll go with,
So go with the 10th.
22-110, Elizabeth Barrett, trustee, 20 Dog Lane. I move that we continue the meeting to January 10th. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Grover?
Or has the eye?
Thank you. Have a good
Okay.
holiday.
Thank you, guys.
Do we have minutes or anything?
We have 3 out of the 4 for Larry to approve.
Okay, so Larry, go ahead and do your thing. What am I doing?
So
Just motion to approve the minutes.
Approve the minutes?
With the Scrivener's error.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
time
guys.
tonight.
Have a good holiday.
Do I have to sign them?
Yes.
Good night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take care.
So just motion to approve minutes
Motion to approve minutes?
with Scrivener's errors.
I'm sorry?
With, that may have Scrivener's errors.
Second?
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Grover? Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Grover?
He's gone.
Aye.
All right.
Good night,
Have a good
Grover.
holiday, Grover.
Good night, Grover.